Skies, the radar buzz, blue book files locked away. Men in black say no one saw a thing today.
Watch closely as a different U.S. drone drops a Hellfire missile on that fast-moving orb. The missile appearing to bounce off the object.
Foo Fighters over World War II. Nazi discs, the rumors grew. Operation Paperclip. V2 rockets, secret ships, Maury Island fragments fall, Flatwoods monster standing tall. Every decade, every night, something strange is in the sky. We didn't stop the sightings. They've been in the heavens while the world keeps fighting. We didn't stop the sightings. No, we didn't light it, but we're trying to find it.
What do you think, dude? That's not LNS though, is it? It's not. I do have LNS, dude. Well, if there's a good thing, it's rotating.
Betty Barney missing time. Hills recall a bright white sign. Kecksburg Bell in Pennsylvania. Sheriff says it tried to change ya. Shag Harbor glowing gold. Halt at Rendell's shame, for it's cold. Ariel School, the kids all stare. They were here, they were really there. Brazil's barking, a creature found. Phoenix lights above the town. Bob Lazar, element quantite. Craft that jumped like in a dream. Skinwalker Ranch, dimension tears. Cattle vanish in the air. Something's humming out of view. Pilots whisper, yeah, we saw it too. We didn't start the sightings. They've been in the heavens while the world keeps fighting. We didn't start the sightings. No, we didn't light it, but we're trying to find it. Radar pings and thermal flares. Oceans hide what's under there. Satellites and space command. Still no one quite understands. For every secret government file, another witness walks a mile to say, I know what I saw tonight, and the truth is sitting out of sight.
No. Good evening, folks. How are we doing? I have a new sidekick called Monty. Came through today. So this live is going to be a watch along on the 1988 John Lear lecture. I've never seen this. It's quite rare. I haven't come across this before. It's not the best quality, but you can hear it and there'll be subtitles and stuff like that. We'll probably do part 1 and part 2, or I can watch it all. Probably just part 1. It's about an hour or something like that. So we're going to crack straight on with it and get straight into it. Put it on this screen. Let me get it on.
Thank you. I used to be interested in spy planes, and I started flight instructing down around Van Nuys Airport in 1964.
Give me a second, folks. Let's get rid of that. And that. There we go. How are we doing? No John Lear. Yeah, this is John. Where's John? Live. John Lear's dead. If you think I'm that good that I'm going to dig him up and bring him here to chat with me, no. It's a live watch along 1988. If you've seen this one, well done. I've not seen this one, which I'm shocked about. I've seen clips. I've never seen the full one.
And that was about the time that the Blackbirds started up.
Let me just... That'll do. That's better.
The SR-71 that some of you know as. And it was a really exciting time. The Blackbird was built by Lockheed, and had some friends that would roll into the the restaurant that we all attended there, the Sky Trails, and of course they couldn't tell us much about it. But we knew what they were doing, and every Monday morning Lockheed had these 3 old Constellations, and they'd take off with the engineers, and they'd drone up out of the valley there through the Newhall Pass, and we'd watch them take off and leave, and we knew it was full of engineers, and we knew they were doing exciting things with exciting airplanes. And then Friday night they'd all come back. About 4 o'clock, these 3 Connies had come back from wherever they went, probably up here. And
so people that are aware of John Lear and stuff like this is one of his best lectures, apparently, that goes really deep into it. So let's see.
In Nevada somewhere. And then 1966, I went to Southeast Asia. I spent several years there flying for a private company, and continued my interest in airplanes. 1973, moved to Nevada, worked for a couple airlines. 1975, went over to Beirut, worked for a large cargo airline over there. And then 1977, came back here, and it's about the time they started up the stealth fighter program. And that was an exciting thing too, and we'd watch the little snippets you'd see in the newspaper about the pilots bailing out. And I remember one in particular, the pilot bailed out up there at the test site, and he showed up at one of the hospitals here with his still in his parachute rig. And that was, I think that was Bill Park. Anyway, then in 1980, went over to Cairo and spent a couple years over there doing some interesting flying, and still keeping my interest in airplanes. Then came back here in 1983, and one thing I would tell you, in when I was over in Cairo, in 1978, when the Camp David Accords were signed, each country, Israel and Egypt, agreed to operate a flight into the other country 4 times a week. Well, El Al, the Israeli airline, they didn't mind flying into Egypt, but you could not find an Egyptian that would fly into Israel. So Egypt Air hired an American airplane with American crew to pretend they were Egyptians to fly in to do their 4 flights. And I was the guy. I was the pilot that did that. And it turns out that one day in 1981, El Al went on strike. And for some reason, they had to make a flight from Tel Aviv to Istanbul. Well, it turns out that the owner of our company had close ties in there, so when we finished the one trip to Tel Aviv before we went back to Cairo, I ran the trip to Istanbul for El Al, and thus became the only captain ever to have flown for El Al and Egypt Air in the same day, in the same airplane. In 1983, I came back here and worked for, got with a major charter carrier, fly L-1011, captain on L-1011. And 1985 was the beginning of this whole mess. A friend of mine flew for the Air Force, and he was a Raven. The Ravens were the people, were the gung-ho guys in Southeast Asia. They took them out of the Air Force and made them civilians, and they flew for the United States ambassador in Laos, and they flew forward air control up in northern Laos, central Laos, over the PDJ, the Plain of Jars, and they were really a gung-ho bunch. There's a book on the newsstands now called Ravens. And he was my friend was one of those guys. He came through Nellis, he was going to retire, and he came over to the house, sat, had a few drinks. We're talking about, the good old days in Laos. We were both there together. And I said, where all have you been based since I saw you last? And he mentioned a few places, and he mentioned Bentwaters. Well, Bentwaters on December 30th, 1980 was where a flying saucer landed, and 3 little aliens got out. Walked up to the base commander, who was the United States Air Force Colonel at that time, Colonel Gordon Williams. And I'd heard about this, but I was never, really all that interested. But to have Greg Wilson tell me, he said Bentwaters, and I said, oh, that's supposedly where that flying saucer crashed. And he said, no, John, not supposedly, or landed. And he said,
who believes John Lear, or who thinks he's full of shit? There's a lot of people that think he was full of shit because his dad was part of very high up in it, and he used his son as a disinformation agent and stuff like that. What are your thoughts on John Lear?
No, John, not supposedly it did. He said, no, I didn't see it because I was confined to quarters, but I know the guys who did.
Please hit the thumbs up, folks.
If you meet up with them, ask them. There's General Williams, Gordon Williams, Colonel Chuck Holt, and Colonel Ted Conrad. Well, I never ran into those guys, but I ran into some other guys, some security police by the name of Larry Warren, Clifford Stone and Adrian Bustinza, who were part of about 30 people who stood perimeter guard around this flying saucer when the aliens got out. And I got to thinking, you know, when Greg told me this, you mean all this stuff is true? You mean there are flying saucers, there are aliens? You mean the government's been lying to us all this time? You mean NASA has been lying and all this stuff is really true? And I got to thinking, God, I'd sure like to find out. Well, all my life, you know, I've really been gung-ho on stuff, you know, from when I got all my ratings with the FAA, I wasn't satisfied just to get the flying ones. I had to get everything, you know, and same thing with airplanes. I can't fly, you know, just a couple. I got to fly them all. And then I got to thinking, you know, if there is something to this, I'm going to find out what it is. So about a year ago, I launched on this program to find out, to get the bottom of flying saucers and find out if they did exist. So I've been working on since last, about July, and then I started in earnest. I took some time off from my job, took about 7 months off, and I really got into it. Made a lot of phone calls, made a lot of meets, talked to a lot of people. November 1st, I got into my truck. I took some video equipment, some audio equipment, some cameras, and I drove throughout Colorado, Arizona, New Mexico, talking to anybody and everybody who would talk to me. Started at Kirtland Air Force Base there with Colonel Ernie Edwards, who heads security police, and one lead to another. And when I got back in December and I realized that I had found the truth, I realized two things. Number one, nobody would ever believe me. And number two, that I better get on with my life and go back to flying, or it really caused me some problems. So I did. I went back to flying, and the way I resolved this conflict within myself, knowing the big secret and not being able to tell anybody, is to go out and give little lectures like this. It's not a crusade. I'm not trying to, you know, get my ideas on forcing on anybody. I talk to little groups. I talk to groups this size. I hardly ever leave Las Vegas to talk. It's just resolving my own inner thing on this. So tonight, I'd like to tell you a little bit about what I found out, and I'm going to start with the Bentwaters tape. HBO went over there in 1984, and they interviewed Larry Warren. They spent $500,000. They did a 5-part documentary that came out in 1984. Nobody ever listened to it. And on Bentwaters, and the 5th one was on Larry Warren, who's my friend, lives in New Haven, Connecticut. He was one of the security airport.
NASA, that made me laugh when they said that we don't know anything and stuff. Fuck off, NASA.
Security cops that was standing right there and watched the aliens get out. So what I'd like to do here is just start this tape and have you look at this HBO presentation.
NASA was started by Von Braun and Eisenhower, so it tells you everything, doesn't it?
Well, suddenly what appears to be a beam coming down to the ground. Is that real?
On the Halt tape, he and others continued to observe the objects for several hours, and Halt noted it in his report. Colonel Halt would not comment officially to CNN about these strange incidents. In my next report, an account is told by this former airman, Larry Warren, who alone says he saw entities emerge from the UFO.
My first impression is that I thought they were children, because my mind wouldn't accept what I was seeing. I thought they were children in snowsuits.
This is Chuck DeCaro, CNN Special Assignments.
Has an Air Force document and a tape recording made during one of 2 reported UFO sightings.
And today, our correspondent, Chuck DeCaro, talks with one former Air Force man who says he witnessed...
Is the sound okay? There is subtitles. The sound should be okay for you, just enough. I recommend putting it through your telly and commenting through the phone. That's the best way to observe it.
...beings from the UFO.
My first impression is that I thought they were children, because my mind wouldn't accept what I was seeing. I thought they were children in snowsuits.
Larry Warren says he's willing to risk ridicule to tell about his encounter with what he says appeared to be alien beings. Larry Warren is today a sales representative for a medical company living and working in a typical suburban community. But a little over 4 years ago, as an enlisted man in the U.S. Air Force, he claims he had a most untypical experience when he came face to face with something he admits he has trouble describing. Warren was assigned to security at the Bentwaters Woodbridge Air Force Base complex in England. He says he was a witness to the second of 2 UFO encounters on succeeding days in the forest separating the 2 bases. And CNN has found, except for Warren's description of the alien beings, others who were there who have given strikingly similar accounts of the UFOs.
Well, it was predominantly, it looked like a fire at first. That's what we thought it was. So it was more like a red or reddish-orange color, but it had other colors moving around in it.
We saw flying objects containing maybe other people or another life form.
There were a number of different phenomena seen. A triangular luminous flying object with a red light on top and a series of blue lights underneath. A circular translucent ground-hugging disc. Various lights moving erratically about the night sky, one of which occasionally beamed a shaft of white light downward, and a luminous pulsating red-orange sphere.
Didn't look solid at all. It just looked like a self-admitted, piece of light. It was just odd. It seemed like it was no sooner there that it blew up. Not outward or upward, it just blew down with all these sparkles and different colors of light. Indescribable, because it's beyond me how this happened. We weren't injured by it, and I was very close, and it changed, and that was the weirdest thing about it. It changed into the ship that people had seen earlier. The 3 cops had followed out there.
Warren's description of the transformed object appears to match what 3 airmen reportedly saw at the same location the night before. But Warren's story takes an even stranger twist.
At that point, we saw people, or whatever you want to call them, coming out. They didn't come out. There were no doors or anything on the ship. These things moved out. There were 3 of them, and they were covered with, they had light around them. And they came out, they stood there, and they actually floated to make it more complicated. Beings, exactly. No threatening motions were made at us by them. They didn't communicate with me at all. Our base commander was there.
Who was the base commander?
Lieutenant Colonel Gordon Williams.
The official Air Force response is that Williams, now a general, did not witness the alleged incident. Air Force for information about the Bentwaters UFO incident 6 months ago. Throughout, the Air Force has been slow to respond. And when it did reply, the answer was usually, quote, unknown, end quote, or in some cases apparently misleading. For example, when CNN asked, are there any photographs, tape recordings, videotapes, drawings, or descriptions of any kind in Air Force files, the official U.S. Air Force reply was, quote, there was no audiovisual documentation done, end quote. However, as we reported earlier in this series, there was an audio tape made during the second of 2 UFO encounters. CNN has also found an officer who says he drove the base commander to a waiting airplane to deliver what he was told was a motion picture film of one of the UFOs.
We drove out and I asked him what was in the film. He said, this is and we actually have the picture of the UFO here. And he got off the Jeep, went to the aircraft, handed the film to the pilot, the canopy closed, and the aircraft took off. I asked him where it was headed, and he said, Germany.
Larry Fawcett says he thinks the Air Force could be involved in a cover-up.
Number one, they've been telling the public for 30 years there's no such thing as UFOs. How can they reverse themselves now and say there is, and they've been lying and covering it up?
If it is a cover-up, then the American public may never know what those airmen saw at Bentwaters in 1980. If they were merely Keystone cops who were hallucinating, as one critic suggests, then what are the national security implications of those same airmen
Who likes cockles? I've just had some pomegranate seeds. Now I'm going to eat cockles.
guarding a strategically important airbase where nuclear weapons are reportedly stored? If they weren't hallucinating, then what are the implications of what they actually did see? When CNN recently asked the Air Force about the possible existence of movie film of the Bentwaters UFO, the official Air Force response was, the United States Air Force stopped investigating UFOs in 1969. This is Chuck DeCaro, CNN.
You want to bet? Let's take a poll here. How many folks believe in UFOs? What a dumb question. Okay. The other thing is, how many believe that the government can cover up something if they want to? Well, we're going to get along real swell today. This is... When I got back, I found out that behind everything...
Yeah, for people joining, We're going to do like part 1, part 2. This is part 1 tonight. We're about 17 minutes in. You've not really missed much yet. It's going to get going now, right? And it's super rare, this one. You'll only find it on two other sites on YouTube. You'll find it on Eyes on Cinema, and you'll find it on John Lear thing. And I'm doing a live watch-along because I've not seen this one. I've seen everything about John Lear except this. So I'm watching it with you guys for the first time.
That I researched was a very extensive government program known as mind control. Everybody's been in it for 40 years. We've all been totally brainwashed. It was the largest, most comprehensive mind control program in the history of mankind. And that's why most people think of flying saucers as a joke. This nation has been systematically and thoroughly brainwashed to believe that they don't exist.
Everything about cockles tells me I should not eat them. I shouldn't even like them. I don't like the look of them. But I like them.
Ridicule. Ridicule is defined as words or actions intended to evoke contemptuous laughter at a person or thing. Fear of ridicule is the primary emotion on which the government's mind control program was based, and it was extremely effective. We have been conditioned to think of extraterrestrials in terms of science fiction fantasy as easily controlled as a television set. The distances are too great, the time to travel unimaginable, the speed of light, blah, blah, blah. The serious news media leans over backwards to avoid mentioning the subject in any way except facetiously. TV and tabloids operate a censorship in reverse by exaggerating and sensationalizing the facts of case histories. They reduce them to absurdities. The Las Vegas Sun bent over backwards to misrepresent and otherwise distort the facts I gave them in a 5-hour interview. Deborah Brady, or Brado, whatever it is, Channel 3 made
Please hit the thumbs up, folks. It really does help.
Sure the audience saw rolling her eyes at my last lecture. Raphael Tamarillo of the Las Vegas Review-Journal wrote a totally ignorant editorial based on zero knowledge of available documents. He says he'll believe in aliens when he sees one in a zoo. And I want to ask you this, Raphael. From which side of the bars do you think you'll be looking? Well, let me tell you something. Our survival, yours and mine, depend on our ability to recognize that we have been duped by an inept government and military into believing that there is no threat and that flying saucers do not exist. And for those of you who believe they do exist, but entertain the simplistic belief that they are all our benevolent space brothers here to guide us into a battle-free utopian society, this fails to correlate with the known facts of numerous case histories. Here's what one Navy captain involved in the cover-up said to Ray Stanford, an eminent UFO researcher, and this Navy captain caught Stanford with a piece of UFO material that came off the Socorro incident. This is what he said to Stanford when he's getting the stuff back from him. He says, "You have no right to that dynamite. What do you want to do, blow up the whole economy? The entire social structure? And every other institution worth keeping?"
Nice to see you in, CT. How are you doing tonight?
Those in a position to know are under no delusion. They know the facts. People are not ready to know the facts. And they have no need to know the facts. They could, half of the people go off the deep end. Stanford asked the captain if those in the know had cracked up after learning the truth. Well, I doubt it, he was told, but those men are trained to meet and accept crises. They are capable of rational judgment in the face of the unexpected. Their decisions are based on experience in considering the welfare of larger groups of people. That provides experience and discernment that the average man, even the UFO researcher, never has. Well, isn't that special?
Put your story in the comments, and if it's a story worth telling, you can come on my channel and you can tell it if you want. So you've seen a UFO land. We need to know about that.
Bruno got burned at the stake in the year 1600 for daring to say that the sun does not revolve around the earth. Even though he was correct, people did not want to hear it. The church did not want to hear it. And the fact that the earth revolves around the sun was successfully suppressed for another 200 years. It eventually caused a major upheaval in the church, government, and thought. a realignment of social and traditional values. Today, I'm telling you that the U.S. government has been in business with little gray extraterrestrials for over 20 years. We made a deal, and we got double-crossed. Fortunately for my efforts to get you the truth, all I'm getting is a little ridicule. But let me tell you my story, and you can make up your own mind whether or not it's true. I'm not selling a book. I don't charge for lectures, and I only lecture if I'm invited. I don't try to force my ideas onto others, but obviously since you're here tonight, you want to listen to what I have to say. In its effort to protect democracy, our government made a deal with these aliens, but we were double-crossed. And the government believes that it's absolutely, vitally important that you don't find out anything about it until they can get things under control. But I believe that you have the right to know how screwed up things have gotten. It is your right as an American, and it's your right as a human. The available evidence indicates that we've had a wide variety of visitors, over 70 different species in fact. They all have different types of motivation for being here, and different ways of interacting with us. Some have had us under surveillance since deep antiquity. Some have periodically stimulated our development with genetic experiments. You say, stimulated?
Oh, I don't care about eating or drinking on stream. I've got snacks from eating.
Us with genetic experiments? Well, how do they do that? In 1986, a doctor in London, head of the Department of Genetics at one of the hospitals.
Do you know, I'm perfectly open of this whole being a psyop, the whole alien thing being, I'm totally open to it, I really am. Oh, did you all watch the interview I did with Brad, where he went into the DMT, went into the other realms, what's going on and what's coming in August in Egypt, a big event's coming. The one that Chris Bledsoe said in April, they've all changed the date, now it's in August. And he's going over there, Chris Bledsoe's going over there. And people have been enjoying that. So please put your comments in on that video, any questions you have, and he'll get back to you, because I've asked him if he'll get back to people on the comments on that, because a lot of people have questions on that video.
There did an amniocentesis on a lady there. As we all know, an amniocentesis is where they withdraw fluid from the amniotic fetal sac of baby, unborn baby, and they look at the fluid to see if there's any disease or anything. So he pulls out this fluid, he puts it under the microscope, and he sees a little speck. So he puts it under an electron microscope, keeps blowing it up, enlarging it further and further and further, until he gets it big enough.
What do you think of my new sidekick?
To see what it is. And what he finds is a little computer chip attached to the chromosome. Now this page here is from Nature magazine. It's one of Britain's most respected scientific journals. These 7 doctors wrote a letter to anybody in the world that could tell them what was going on. And at the end they say, if anybody is able to suggest an answer to this mystery, we would like to have it. We are as intrigued as we are ignorant. There's the original picture there. Those are chromosomes, and that's the little computer chip. That's how some of the genetic engineering is done. In the past 4 years, there have been 9,000 sightings of enormous crafts swooping low over the Hudson Valley in New York. Last October and November, there was 4,000 recorded sightings of a craft larger than a 747 flying slowly over Wytheville, Virginia, reported variously as huge triangles or disc-shaped objects. Hundreds of sightings in Texarkana in the past few months. On March 4th, 1988, in Pensacola, Florida, the ABC affiliate presented a 30-minute documentary showing 36 clear photos in 1 minute and 38 seconds of an extraterrestrial craft. Only the people in Pensacola got to see that because our news is controlled. The major networks are controlled by a organization called MJ12, which I'll tell you about in just a minute. But I'd like to tell you a little bit about this documentary. In November, a Gulf Breeze resident, he's a contractor there, got these photos, And he took it to the newspaper, who took it to the TV studio, and they thought, God, this is great. I mean, this is ironclad evidence. Polaroid shots, very difficult to fake a Polaroid, and video of this thing flying. But they said if we release it now, the public's going to cry fraud. So what we'll do is we'll spend about 3 months, and we'll authenticate the videotape, and we'll establish the credibility of the witness, which they did, and then they released it in this videotape March.
Yeah, please hit that thumbs up, guys. It's a nice Tuesday night, just a chilled out hour. Maybe go into some of the latest news after this hour, but we are going to do a part 2 and watch the other side. It's about, I think it's 2 hours in total length. It's 26 minutes in so far. You've not missed that much. If you know John Lear, you'll know what he's saying here, but I've just not seen it. And it's rare, and I want this kind of stuff on my channel in the rare archived footage.
4th, 1988, and I'm just going to show you just a one portion of it. You can get an idea of what we're talking about.
Things were very normal around the house. Just a normal evening. My wife says she's got to run to the store. Anyway, I'm sitting at my desk. Out the window, I noticed something, a glow. I got up and walked around outside.
Yeah, my vape is no nicotine.
It just didn't look like a helicopter or an airplane. I realized that it was not something normal. I thought of calling the police. And I said, well, I better take a picture first. I had no feelings I was going to be, hurt or anything. I took 4 shots and ran out of film. And again in my mind, take some more pictures. I ran back in, took the last package of Polaroid film out, opened up and crammed it in there. Because the thing's flying around out there, get it quick. It either saw me or whatever, because it started coming. It altered its course. It started coming my direction.
That was November 11th, 1987, about 6 o'clock in the evening. A Gulf Breeze resident, who insists on remaining anonymous, took these photographs. Charlie and Doris Summerby say they saw the same thing that night over East Bay.
And suddenly, Dory said, look, what's that, Charlie? I'll be damned. There were portholes. We saw portholes of light coming out of the portholes.
And over the next 3 months, many more pictures would be taken. By different people.
I'm not a massive fan of these pictures, I'll be honest with you. I think they're very suspect, but what do you think?
And videotapes, too.
And I feel that there's absolutely no sign of a hoax, that the photographs are genuine, that the witnesses are telling the truth, and that this presents probably the best, without any doubt, the best photographic evidence in 40 years of UFO investigation.
G'day folks, I'm not doing much talking because while this is playing, people do moan sometimes that I'm talking even though it's a fucking watch along, right? So I'm trying my best to be nice and just let it play out for you so you can come back to it. I will upload the full interview in its entirety, the full 2 hours, separately tomorrow or the day after, and it'll be put in the archived area so you can watch it without the watch along. I've just not seen this and I do like to do watch alongs. Any questions and stuff like that, you can ask the questions.
And it's happening right now, and it's time to face the facts.
Yeah, 100%. If I say to people, what do you want to research? I'd just go to the old stuff. If you start researching, which a lot of people have done, and you come into the topic in 2016, because that's when it got famous because of Lou Elizondo and stuff like that, you're just being fed bullshit information from day one. Bullshit information. If you started researching in 1999, in the 80s, stuff like, you know the good stuff. You know where to go and stuff like that. And I can, and people that don't, I can just send me a DM or drop a comment, and I'll always get back to you. I'll get back to everybody. Start off with the good stuff. Wendell Stevens, John Lear, Bob Dean, Bob Lazar, Bill Cooper, Bill English, all the good ones.
What I'm going to tell you tonight is true beyond a shadow of a doubt, but it's not important that you believe it now. Just listen, file away. In the next few months, maybe even years, you'll wake up one fine day and say to yourself, the son of a gun was right. Of course, by then it'll be far too late. So here's the bottom line. Listen up. Number one, the United States government, since July 7th, 1947, has collected and has in its possession At least 15, but probably closer to 25
Hey,
flying
Dogs, welcome
saucers
in. Thank you for
belonging
joining
to
the
alien
membership, by the way.
civilizations from far beyond our solar system.
There will be merch, and everybody will get a free gift that's a member and stuff like that. And there will be membership content. It's just the channel's fairly newish still, so I'm just bear with me.
At least 3 were undamaged, and the Air Force has tried to fly at least one of them under a secret program begun in 1972 and continuing to this date at the Nevada test site and Kwajalein Island in the Pacific.
Just an update for the channel as well. I'm going to start using StreamYard, I think, and I want to start doing phone-ins once a week or maybe even once a month. Get people that want to message me, email me, tell me the stories, set a list, tell them a day and a time, and we'll do like a phone-in show. People ring in or come up on camera, tell your stories, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. That's what I want. I want people to be able to think, I've got a story to tell and I want to go on that channel, I want to say it.
Number 2, the United States government has in cryogenic storage at least 30, but maybe closer to 100 alien bodies representing as many as 3 different civilizations from far beyond our solar system. The bodies were or are...
Totally appreciate the support. I'm trying to save up for my C-Star CC50 it is. I think probably about 75, maybe 75 quid away from getting it. Hopefully I want to get it this month. And then we can start doing, I can have it in the live stream. We can have like a live moon shot. Or if it's a daytime stream, a live sun shot. And I know that's hard because it's in the UK and we get summer. I think it's Tuesday this year we get summer. But yeah.
Kept at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, Homestead Air Force Base, and there is an alien corpse display at the CIA facility at Langley. At least 3 aliens were captured alive, and 1 is still living.
Oh, sorry, to stop. And collabs. If anybody's a content creator and you're in here and you want a collab, reach out to me. We're going to start doing collabs. I want like 3 or 4 people up, regular things, regular interactions.
At Los Alamos, New Mexico. Their nomenclature or names, they were called EBEs, extraterrestrial biological entities. They were named that by Dr. Detlef Bronk, 6th president of the Johns Hopkins University, who was one of the original MJ-12s. So they called them EBEs, and the ones that they captured were in consecutive order: EBE-1, EBE-2, EBE-3. EBE-1 was captured in 1949, died in 1952, lived with an Air Force colonel. I don't know about EBE-2, EBE-3. I don't know when he was captured, but he's still alive. Number 3, at least 1 million Americans, and probably far more, have been abducted since the early 1940s. These abductions last about 2 hours and are carried out for 3 purposes. The first is to insert a tiny transmitter the size of a BB into the brain of the subject in order to monitor certain biological functions, the specifics of which are unknown to us at this time.
Sorry to pause it again, but this is sort of breaking news in the UK. There's an outbreak of meningitis, and I've seen on the news, it's been happening over the last 3 or 4 days, and now they're trying to push a vaccine on youngsters. This is weird, by the way, because we all get vaccinated for meningitis when we're young, but it's a bacterial one, and it's just very suspicious to me where it's come from. We've never had anything like this. I've never known it, and I'm 40. I've never known anything like this in the UK, where now it's just hitting these college students.
The transmitters are implanted at the human beings at about the age of 4 or 5. They are picked up again and checked at about 12 or 13, and about the age of 18, the implant is sometimes removed. Some of you have seen that book, Communion, written by Whitley Strieber. It tells a very fascinating story. He was at the World Life Expo down there in Los Angeles about 6 weeks ago, and he carries around his x-rays with his implants in there, signed by his doctor, 2 unidentified 3-millimeter spherical objects in his brain. The second purpose of the abductions is to program the individual through post-hypnotic suggestion. On the basis of over 300 cases we've discovered so far, we now know that some sort of enormously important event may occur in the next 1 to 4 years, and the abductees have been post-hypnotically programmed to proceed to a certain place and perform a certain function during that event. In some cases, the abductees have been shown what appears to be similar to a little TV channel changer, and advised that at the proper time they will remember what the unit is for and how to work it. Under our best hypnotic techniques, we are unable to find out when or what. There is evidence that the third reason for the abductions is interbreeding or crossbreeding experiments where we have been crossbred with the aliens. In his book Intruders, Bud Hopkins tells about his 2.5-year investigation of Kathy Davis of Indianapolis, who was inseminated by aliens and produced 7 crossbreeds. Number 4, during the past 13 years, over 14,000 cattle throughout the U.S., Canada, and South America have been mutilated in a completely grotesque manner. The mutilations have been investigated by many state and federal agencies, including the FBI, and was the subject of an Emmy Award-winning production called A Strange Harvest, produced by Linda Moulton Howe for the...
This is like new. I've not shared this with anybody but me and myself. I'm in the process of creating a game, a board game, a UFO board game. Now, I'm creating it through not ChatGPT, it's an AI I'm using it through basically to come up with a board game. I'm giving ideas and stuff like that. So I'm hoping to come out with my own board game, which will be called UFOs Around the World. And I want it to be totally unique and stuff like that. So I am working on something there. So yeah, listen out for that.
CBS affiliate in Denver. The government issued several press releases blaming the mutilations on predatory animals. However, it was proven that the mutilations were performed using advanced laser surgical equipment which actually cut between the cells of the tissue, a process which is presently beyond our technology, especially in the field.
And one other thing, sorry, I'm pausing it, but it's in my head. So I use the VR a lot, and I've got friendly with someone who's really good at creating stuff in the VR world, and he's going to create like a community, like you've got these worlds and stuff. He's going to create like a world so we can, basically my own world, where people can come and join me in the virtual world. I can stream it as well, so I could have the headset on and still be streaming, and people can come into the virtual world. And then I'm going to eventually invite guests up, so interviews in the virtual world and stuff like that. I'm hoping to interview Luigi Vendatelli next Friday as well. Not this Friday coming, the Friday after. That's the guy who's doing the producing the Bob Lazar movie and stuff like that.
One interesting phenomenon in nearly all the mutilations is that no blood was found in or near the carcasses, and that there was no vascular collapse of the remains. The mutilations have occurred as far north as Canada, where mutilations are classified top secret by the Canadian government, and as far south as Brazil. Over 200 mutilations have occurred this year in a large East Coast city. I'm being given directly the information by the people who are working on it. We know that there's 4 major law enforcement organizations working on it to keep it hidden from the public. They're all working in plain clothes. Number 5, it is unknown exactly which one of the 70 or more alien civilizations which are visiting us at this time are responsible for the mutilations. However, there is private, scientific speculation that these parts and their glandular secretions are used for food and or genetic experiments. Let me show you a little bit of...
Yeah, so the idea is, I sit down in the virtual world with a virtual guest. Could be James Fox, could be anybody like that, could be Brad that I spoke to the other day. In the virtual world, face to face, record it in the virtual world like I'm sat there. Because we can't speak to these people face to face, can we? I'm in the UK, Manchester. These people are all around the world. But VR brings it close. And as VR's getting better and the avatars are getting better, it will one day just be my face there, and it'll be his face there, whoever I'm interviewing and stuff like that. And not only that, you can join that room and you can participate in that. I'm trying to corner that market. I have no idea how to do it, but I'm working with someone who's a fucking genius on it. That's our secret. Nobody, the 91 who's watching, you do not fucking steal that idea. I swear to God, or I'll find you.
About the strange harvest, the one that lived in...
Disease, lightning strikes, predator attacks, and other natural causes. But in northeastern Colorado, another favorite spot for the mutilators, Tex Graves, former sheriff of Logan County, insists the 93 mutilated carcasses he investigated were not natural deaths.
The very first one we had was southwest of Sterling. When we first looked at it, it was just unbelievable that you could take an animal and do this too without leaving some kind of track, some kind of evidence behind, such as cigarette butts, matches, handprints, footprints, but there was nothing. The animal looked almost horrible. and it was something that I didn't really want to believe then. And there was, we probably had 5 or 6 others before I really did believe something strange was going on. We had one up north where we believed the animal was paralyzed and was alive when it was being mutilated. An eye and an ear, the tongue, the rectal area was taken out, but the animal dug a hole with its head, but none of the other parts of the body moved, not even the legs. 6 north of town on a very hard...
So that's made me like, imagine just being aliens. They come to get you, like, what do you want from me? Just take anything. Okay, we're taking your arsehole. What? We're taking your arsehole. What do you mean taking my... No, it's all right. You're not going to bleed. We're going to take it surgically and there's going to be no blood spot. But we need your arsehole. No fucking, like, no negotiating. Give us your arsehole.
Hard pasture, almost like hard brick. We found tripod marks 12 inches across. The tripod marks were 14 feet apart. We found one set that had gone in the ground roughly 8 inches. And it would take a good post hole digger or our shovel to dig in like this. It indicated something very heavy had set down in this area, yet there was no tracks leading from it nor to it. Almost nightly when this was going on, we could pick out a very brilliant, huge, brilliant light in the sky. We had a newsman take...
They better not do that with sheep, because fucking Welsh people will be in uproar.
Pictures of it with a very high-powered lens, but all we got out of this was the movement of it and the light showing very brilliant. Several times we observed smaller lights come out of this aircraft and then come down toward Earth. This huge, brilliant light would hang in the air, and then when it would move, it could move up and down, backwards, forwards, travel very rapidly. And after a while, these smaller lights would join up with the larger one, and then they'd disappear.
Whistleblower is the chief investigator for the district attorney's office in Trinidad, Colorado. Extraterrestrials are the ones mutilating animals. What do you think the implications are then for this planet?
Throughout the mutilations, all of us involved have been concerned with the possibility of the mutilations going from animals to human beings. Understandable. Thank God to this point it hasn't happened. Whatever they're doing with the portions of these animals they are taking, I haven't the slightest idea. There's a reason for it, not haphazard. There's a pattern to it. I don't know. I think it's a wait-and-see game. What else can we do? If we do have beings from outer space doing this, with the capabilities to do things like this, what can we as a human race do? If they have the knowledge and the technology that it looks like they have, we're powerless. So maybe it's a wait-and-see game. I can't see anything else to do.
This is a computer readout from it's a physics book that they used to give out at the Air Force Academy. It's called Introductory Space Science Volume 2, Department of Physics, United States Air Force, edited by Major Carpenter and Colonel Thurkelson. Chapter 13 was titled Unidentified Flying Objects. In 1972, they took this chapter out of the book because the public was getting hold of it and wanted to have, wanted to see some answers here. And this was a classic Air Force case of the right hand not knowing what the left hand was doing. The people that wrote this didn't know it was a big secret. Anyway, on page 8 of this thing, it takes the Air Force Academy graduate through about 50,000 years of UFO history, from the 47,000-year-old granite carvings of the Hunan province to the Tassili Plateau rock sculptures of 6000 BC, to the story of Ezekiel in 593 BC, to the Irish accounts in 956 AD up through 742 and the UFO over London in that year, on up to 1947 and the Ken Arnold sighting, the Lonnie Zamora incident in Socorro, New Mexico. That was April 24th, 1964. Policeman Lonnie Zamora, who I met on my trip when I took 3.5 weeks out there, he was chasing a speeder, and he saw a little egg-shaped thing come flying across town, and he went after it. It had landed, and two little humanoids had got out, and he parked his car, jumped out, and looked over this bluff where he saw him, and when they saw him, they jumped back in the vehicle and took off. Well, naturally, it created a big deal. The Air Force came down, the FBI came down. He wouldn't change his story. He knew what he saw. There were prints of the landing gear that are still there. I walked out there with Lonnie Zamora here last November, and the FBI put rocks around to protect the area so they could take plaster casts. It's still there. Everything's still there. Anyway, he lost his job, and now he works at the sanitation department there. But takes you through that story, then takes you to the Benny and Barney Hill abduction of September 19th, 1961. This is one of the first abduction cases that was really public, and interesting case about, interesting story about that. Betty Hill, under hypnotic regression, told about an incident when she was on the operating table in the saucer. They had taken a needle and were poking at her.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. I don't like putting super chat or asking for super chats, but I am actually really trying to save up, and it is to throw it into the channel. None of this goes into my own pocket. It goes back, I reinvest it in the channel, whatever I can do with it. I work full time. This is not my job. I'm not a full-time content creator. I know what, I am a full-time content creator, but I have a full-time job. How I've amassed the following on my social medias and doing that and 5 kids, I have no idea.
Stomach, and she says, "What's that?" And they said, "It's a pregnancy test." And she said, "Well, that's nothing we have here on Earth." And she's right. Amniocentesis wasn't invented until 1972. Chapter 13 makes this surprising statement. Right here, Air Force Academy physics book. The most commonly described alien is about 3.5 feet tall, has a round head, arms reaching to or below his knees, and is wearing a silvery spacesuit or coveralls. Other aliens appear to be essentially the same as Earthmen, while still others have particularly wide wraparound eyes or mouths with very thin lips. It's coming right out of an Air Force Academy physics book. And there's a rare group reported as about 4 feet.
I have a missus that supports me, to be fair. She knows I'm passionate about this, and she's like proper, like, gives me the time to do it, even though I've been in work today. I finished at 6. I've come home, I've done live stream and stuff like that. So yeah, I've just got to fit it in when I can.
Tall, weight of around 35 pounds, and covered with thick hair or fur. Members of this.
The thing that helps me is the fact that I've researched it for a long time, so I've got quite a bit of knowledge, nowhere to go, so I don't have to research a lot. Not on this side of it anyway. There's loads that I need to research on with regards to DMT and the spiritual side of it, which I am doing on the side.
This last group are described as being extremely strong. And the Air Force says this doesn't exist? Give me a break. This is a picture of what is known as an EBE. They probably come from a star system known to us as Zeta Reticuli 1 and 2, about 38 light years from here. As you can see, the relative proportions are that of a 5-month fetus. These drawings were made with the help of a CIA informant and the surgeon who performed the autopsy in the late 40s. This surgeon is still alive in California. I'm going to show you a detail of the head. There's quite a large brow. The eyes are quite large, brown in color with no eyelids. Here's a detail of the hand. You can see it has 4 fingers which are slightly webbed, and there's no opposable thumb. There's actually 3 types of these, what we call grays. The ones that Larry Warren saw in Bentwaters have 3 fingers and an opposable thumb, and then there's another type which has 6 fingers. The following were noted during an autopsy by an Army surgeon at the Walter Reed Hospital in the 1940s. 3.5 to 4 feet tall, weight 40 pounds, 2 almond-shaped eyes without pupils, no earlobes, mouth small, appears not to function as a means of communication or a means of food ingestion, arms extending to the knees, the skin is blue-gray, no teeth, no apparent reproductive organs, colorless liquid prevalent in the body without red cells, no water or food to intake is known, no digestive tract. Now let's go back to 1947 when the first flying saucer crashed on July 2nd of that year. It crashed about 22 miles southeast of Corona, New Mexico, which is about 70 miles northwest of Roswell. It crashed on the Mac Brazel Ranch. Mac Brazel wasn't actually the Brazel Ranch, he was the foreman. And it was July 2nd, I think it was a Friday, and that was the July 4th weekend. So he didn't get around to going into Roswell until the 6th. When he contacted the sheriff told him to go out to the Air Force Base. He went out to what is known as Walker Field, got with the Chief Intelligence Officer, Jesse Marcel. They went back up to Roswell, loaded all this stuff up in the Jeep, and took it back down to Roswell. Jesse Marcel got in a B-29 with all this stuff and was going to fly it to White Pat. But about halfway, they got orders in the air to land at Carswell. They landed at Carswell, and they were met by a guy named General Alfred Ramey. General Ramey held a press conference, and he's the one that told the public he had some balloon stuff, and he brought that out and said all it was a crashed weather balloon, and the press and the public bought it hook, line, and sinker. When I was on this trip, I talked to Mrs. Floyd Proctor. Floyd Proctor's ranch is right next to Brazel's. When Brazel found this stuff, he brought up some of the stuff and showed it to him, showed him pieces of the saucer. She still remembers that day. I said, did you go down and see it? And she said, no, John, you got to remember in 1947, we were really didn't have enough money to buy the gas to go down. It was about 15 miles away. And she said we didn't understand the importance or the significance of the event. Of course, if it happened today, we'd certainly go down there. But we did feel the stuff. We saw the strange writing. We felt the pieces. And what I'd like to show you now is an interview with Jesse Marcel. Now, there's an interesting thing here. Most of the people that come out and talk about stuff, if they've had direct knowledge and they make a public announcement of any kind, they die shortly thereafter. Jesse Marcel made this for HBO, I think in 1984, and died shortly thereafter. Why do you...
Coverup went into high gear with the Roswell, New Mexico incident in July 1947. Roswell was the site of an Army Air Force base 118 miles from the atomic testing grounds at Alamogordo and only 220 miles from Los Alamos, birthplace of the atomic bomb. On July 2nd, this rancher, Mac Brazel, saw something crash in a field outside town. Brazel died in 1963, having kept a pledge to the Air Force to keep secret the story of what really happened in this field. Brazel talked to only one person about those events, his son, Bill, now 60 years old. He told him that whatever crashed here was something he could not identify.
According to my dad, there was a bad thunderstorm the night before. The next day he was out on the ranch and he found this debris. And he picked it all up in his pickup and was talking to people, and of course there was some talk about UFOs. He was going to Roswell, and as far as I know, he got in touch with the Sheriff's Department. They in turn called the Air Force. Then the Air Force got with Dad and swore him to secrecy, and they came out to the ranch and picked up this debris.
Major Jesse Marcel, the chief intelligence officer at the base, was assigned the task of collecting the debris from the crash site. His selection for the job, UFO proponents say, is proof that the Air Force knew from the start that this was something out of the ordinary. Marcel tells us what he found in that field.
None of the materials that we picked up weighed anything. Looked like it was weightless. You couldn't feel that you had anything in your hands.
The wood, I call it wood, I don't know what it was. It was something like balsa wood, but it wouldn't burn, and I couldn't cut it with my knife.
I found one piece of metal, what looked like metal anyway. It was not flexible, but it was as thin as a foil in a pack of cigarettes. It was that thin. One of my boys told me, he said, there's something unusual here. He said, I tried to make a dent in this metal, and he says, you can't bend it. You can't make a mark on it. He says, I took a sledgehammer and whammed it. I put it on the ground and whammed it. The sledgehammer bounced off of it.
When Major Marcel reported his findings to officials back at the base, they issued a startling press release. They had a flying saucer. The next day, Major Marcel was assigned to take the remains of the crashed objects to Wright Field in Ohio for further examination. However, the plane landed at Carswell Air Force Base in Fort Worth, Texas. General Alfred Ramey took one piece of the object off the plane and called a press conference. Then, Major Marcel was given different orders by Ramey. He was not to continue on to Wright Field.
He told me not to say anything. He says, I'll handle it from now on. And that's exactly what he did. When he came out, he said, he told the press that was there, he said, that was nothing but a weather balloon, crashed weather balloon.
Marcel, under orders not to say what he believed, only recently spoke out against the Air Force's revised story.
It was definitely not a weather balloon. And it was an aircraft. So what it could have been, I wouldn't know. I still don't know.
Mac Brazel, who had a rancher's knowledge of such things, told his son that, like Major Marcel, he knew the object was not a weather balloon.
He said that's what the Air Force tried to make him believe, that it was a weather balloon. And he said, Bill, he said, it was not a weather balloon. He said, I don't know what it was. But he said it was something altogether different and much bigger.
All these years, what is the big deal? I mean, we've been, flat lied to. Well, consider, if you will, the position of the United States government at the time this happened. They proudly thought of themselves as the most powerful nation on earth, having recently produced the atomic bomb and won World War II with it. They had built a jet aircraft that was in 4 months going to exceed the speed of sound in flight. They had built bombers of intercontinental range that could carry weapons of enormous destruction. The post-war era had brought economic prosperity, and the future seemed bright. Now imagine what it was like for those same leaders, all of whom had witnessed the panic of the Orson Welles broadcast of the War of the Worlds in 1938. Thousands of Americans had panicked at a realistically presented invasion of Earth.
Who remembers that? I don't remember it, but I remember the story. I used to have the LP of it. It was like really old LP. The chances of anything coming from Mars is 1,000,000 to 1, he said. Someone actually just did a radio broadcast and said, run to the hills, the aliens are here. And they all went, okay, and ran to the fucking hills. Idiots.
Earth by beings of another planet. Imagine their horror as they actually viewed the dead bodies of the real aliens. Frightening little creatures with enormous eyes, reptilian skin, and claws at the end of their fingers. Imagine their shock as they attempted to determine how these strange saucers were powered and could discover no part even remotely similar to components that they were familiar with. No cylinders, no pistons, no vacuum tubes, no turbines, no hydraulic actuators. It's only when you fully understand the overwhelming helplessness the government was faced with in the summer of 1947 can you comprehend their perceived need for a total, thorough, and sweeping cover-up to include the use of deadly force. The cover-up was so successful that as late as 1985, a senior scientist with the Jet Propulsion Laboratory in Pasadena, California, Dr. Al Hibbs, would look at a videotape, which we're going to see later, of an enormous flying saucer over the Hudson Valley and state for the record, I'm not going to assign anything to the UFO phenomena without a lot more data. Dr. Hibbs was looking at the naked emperor and saying, well, he certainly looks naked, but that doesn't prove he is naked. This enormous cover-up was initiated on September 24th, 1947, by President Truman by an executive order which established a group of 12
Please hit thumbs up, folks.
top military, scientific, and intelligence personnel of their time. They were known as the MJ-12. Although the group exists today, none of the original members is still alive. The last one to die was a guy named Gordon Gray, died in 1984. As each member passed away, another member was appointed to fill the position. The group today is composed of more members of the original 12 than the original 12, and among those who are thought to be current members are Dr. Kissinger, Dr. Ed Teller, General Lou Allen, and Admiral Bobby Inman. November 18th, 1952, President-elect Dwight David Eisenhower was briefed on Majestic 12 and the cover-up by Admiral Roscoe H. Hillenkotter. Admiral Hillenkotter was MJ1 and had been director of the Central Intelligence Agency from May of 1947 until September of 1950. This is a copy of that briefing. Copy is up there on that board. This copy was sent to a Los Angeles man named Jamie Chandra, a man active in UFO research. It came through the mail in a plain brown envelope as a roll of undeveloped 35mm black and white film. The first 8 frames contained the document, then there were 5 blank frames, and then there were 8 frames of the documents again. The briefing outlines the history of the flying saucer recovery and the current members of MJ-12. Who sent the document? We don't know. We know that part of MJ-12 wants the truth out, part doesn't. MJ-12, we know, has become military top-heavy over the past 20 years, and we all know that the military does not want to admit a mistake. But somebody is trying to help us. Warning, top secret, eyes-only document containing compartmentalized information essential to the national security of the United States. Eyes-only access to the material herein is strictly limited to those possessing Majestic 12 clearance level. Reproduction in any form or the taking of written or mechanical transcribed notes is strictly forbidden. Copy 1 of 1. Briefing Officer, Admiral Roscoe H. Hillenkotter, MJ-1. Operation Majestic 12 is a top secret research and development intelligence operation responsible directly and only to the President of the United States. Operations of the project are carried out under the control of Majestic 12, which was established by special classified executive order of President Truman on 24th, 1947. And here's a list of the original members. Admiral Roscoe Hillenkotter, Dr. Vannevar Bush, Secretary James Forrestal. Remember what happened to him? Committed suicide in 1950. General Nathan Twining, General Hoyt Vandenberg, Dr. Detlef Bronk, he's the guy that named the EBEs. Dr. Jerome Hunsaker, Mr. Sidney Sowers, Mr. Gordon Gray, Mr. Donald Menzel. Anybody remember Menzel? Menzel was the guy in the 50s who debunked flying saucers. Nah, they don't exist. He wrote 3 books that said they didn't exist. General Robert M. Montague, Dr. Lloyd V. Berkner. Then it goes on to say the history. Talks about June 24th, 1947, civilian pilot flying over the Cascade Mountains in the state of Washington observed 9 flying disc-shaped aircraft traveling in formation at a high rate of speed. That was Ken Arnold. We have a relative of Ken Arnold who's in the audience today. Although this was not the first known sighting of such object, it was the first to gain widespread attention in the public media. A number of witnesses were interviewed, and there were several unsuccessful attempts to utilize aircraft in efforts to pursue reported discs of flight. Public reaction bordered on near hysteria at times. In spite of these efforts, little of substance was learned about the objects until a local rancher reported one had crashed in a remote region of New Mexico. On July 7, 1947, a secret operation was begun to assure the recovery of the wreckage of this object for scientific study. During the course of the operation, aerial reconnaissance discovered that 4 small human-like beings had apparently ejected from the craft at some point before it exploded. Goes on to talk about a covert analytical effort organized by General Twining and Dr. Bush, acting on the direct orders of the President, resulted in a preliminary consensus that the disc was most likely a short-range reconnaissance craft. And it talks about the 4 dead occupants were examined by Dr. Bronk and what he named them. Since it is virtually certain that these craft did not originate in any country on Earth, considerable speculation has centered around what their point of origin might have been and how they got here. Numerous examples of what appear to be forms of writing were found in the wreckage. Efforts to decipher these have remained largely unsuccessful. Then they attach enumeration of the attachments, which we didn't get. We did get one. It was number 1.
It's about to finish this in a couple of seconds. Do you want to watch part 2, or do you want to save it for another night? Are you good to go for the next? There's going to be another...
was where President Truman established the MJ-12. On White House stationery, top secret eyes only. September 24th, 1947, memorandum for the Secretary of Defense. Dear Secretary Forrestal, as per our recent conversation on this
What do you want to do? Do you want to watch the second one? There's actually 3 parts, but we can watch the second one. That's an hour. Carries on from where it...
Reliable reports indicate clearly that there are objects coming into our atmosphere at very high speeds. Their maneuvers indicate that they are under intelligent control. Now, here's our old buddy Carl Sagan. He used to be on our side. What happened? He got drafted by MJ-12. When? Oh, about 1963. Carl Sagan was really a gung-ho guy, and he wanted to get the information out. As a matter of fact, here's what he said in 1962 to the American Rocket Society Convention. We must be prepared to face the probability that we have been visited by intelligent beings from outer space, and the likelihood that a requisite to those visits, they would have used bases on the backside of the moon. You don't hear him talking like that anymore, do you? Oh, no. 1976, remember when we all watched Viking Land on Mars, and there's old Sagan up there looking at the TV. Oh, God, I hope we see something, you know. God, this would really be great. He knew all along. Here's Wilbur B. Smith, senior radio engineer for Canada. This document came out by accident of the Freedom of Information Act. Smith was a senior radio engineer from Canada, and this is a document he wrote back to his country when he came here in 1950, researching the UFOs. You can read this document right up there. It's FOIA. I made discreet inquiries through the Canadian Embassy staff in Washington who were able to obtain the following information. A, the matter is the most highly classified subject in the United States government, rating higher even than the H-bomb. B, flying saucers exist. C, their modus operandi is unknown, but concentrated effort is being made by a small group headed by Dr. Vannevar Bush. D, the entire matter is considered by the United States authorities to be of tremendous significance. Let me read you one more. General Douglas MacArthur, what do you think he had to say about this? General Douglas MacArthur in 1955 to the New York Times. Are you listening, Las Vegas journalists? This is what General Douglas MacArthur had to say. The nations of the world will have to unite, for the next war will be an interplanetary war. The nations of the earth must someday make a common front against attack by people from other planets. 7 years later, to the graduating class at West Point, General Douglas MacArthur said, "We deal now not with things of this world alone, but with unimaginable distances and as yet unfathomed mysteries of the universe. We are reaching out for a new and boundless frontier. We speak in terms of harnessing the cosmic energy of ultimate conflict between a united human race and the sinister forces of some other planetary galaxy." A classified NASA videotape showing several UFOs recently leaked out to the public and was shown by David Garcia on KNBC Channel 4 in Los Angeles. In their usual dishonest misrepresentation of UFOs, NASA calls this UFO space debris, these UFOs, space debris, aberrations, ice crystals, and propellant leaks. Let's see.
Yep, it's blue beam, innit, what they're talking about. Flat Earth would be like, it's flat, look, it's flat and it's square. And I don't want to take the mick out of the flat earthers. It is not fun to take the piss out of the mentally handicapped. What we're looking at here, is this what we're looking at in the top right here? Is this supposed to be a UFO? I have no idea what this is. That's anybody. Oh wait. There's much clearer footage of this. I don't know why this is so bad. Like this is from the Gemini mission, I think, because I did a video on it, and that's the guy looking through the window. I'm pretty sure that's the same clip. I don't know why this is so bad. No, I do not believe in a flat Earth. My mother never slept with someone that had like the brain of an amoeba or something, a dying amoeba. It's like the evidence is there for a flat Earth. Like, you can debunk it yourself. You just stick a stick in the ground, for fuck's sake. Did you hear about that guy that someone paid for him to go to Antarctica, and now he's not a flat Earth anymore? Because he said that he didn't believe that the sun was 24 hours or something at a certain point in Antarctica. And then he went, I believe now that Earth is round. Thank you for the trip. Thank you for paying thousands of pounds to send me out there. They should have spent that money and sent him to a fucking mental asylum. I should get someone on one day, an interview, right? Do it live, like I'm really interested, and then just call him an absolute dickhead at the end of it or something like that. Just say, like, listen, I've just wanted you up here just to tell you need help, and then put like a little helpline at the bottom with a call number and donations and stuff like that for him. A few people have just dropped out of the live. I've just noticed there. They're probably flat earthers, but I'm fucking out. I'm walking off now. I'm going. I'm leaving. I'm not coming back to this channel ever again. You globetard. It is. I did a video on this. That's the that's not a UFO, by the way. Is he claiming that's a UFO? Because that's not a UFO. That's a piece of the Gemini. It's weird because we had this footage. Shiv was sent this footage, right? And then it shows like it looks like a UFO next to the moon, and we had the images of it and stuff like that. This is the same. It is the same footage. I know for a fact it is, but it's a better footage we had. It shows like objects on the moon as it's hovering over, and you'll see like little things flying off and stuff like that. That's interesting. But then there's also, I don't know if it's going to show the moon thing that we had. Really poor quality, that, like really poor. Look, don't it? Like you can see the lights and stuff. I'm just going to prove something to you here. 1 second. I did this on my channel. Where is it? Bear with me a sec, folks. Just need to show you this. There, you see that there? I'll show you the photo that I mean from this mission. Hello everyone and welcome to look at here, watch. This is the image that I shared. So this is the image. And if I can zoom in a little bit for you. That's what we sent. See that little top hat here? Circular thing. What the hell is this over the moon, basically? What the hell is this over the moon? Now, hopefully, I've got permission to be able to share this, otherwise you're not going to see this entire video, which will be a shame, because I didn't have permission, but I still shared it, because I don't give a shit. So, yeah, and I did the full Gemini. That's what you've just been watching there, that Gemini thing. And it's exactly the same as that. That's what was on the video. This. Shame Shiv not seen the thing. It's funny because he's like, nobody's seen this. Well, I've never seen this interview, otherwise I'd have known then that it's from here. But it didn't show that moon stuff, which is interesting.
Okay, now let's take a little vote here. We're going to vote for those who believe NASA and those who don't. First, everybody believes NASA, raise your hand. Oh my God, do you know how much we pay them in taxes and you don't believe them? God, I'm afraid to ask how many people don't believe them. During the period of 1979 to 1983, it became increasingly obvious to MJ-12 that things were not going as planned. We didn't get the super weapons technology that they promised us. But it became known that thousands more people than were listed by the aliens were being abducted. By 1984, MJ-12 must have been in stark terror at the mistake they had made in dealing with the EBEs. They had subtly promoted close encounters of the third kind in ET to get the public used to small, little, odd-looking creatures that were compassionate, benevolent, and very much our space brothers. MJ-12 had sold the EBEs to the public, and now we're faced with the fact that quite the opposite was true. Jamie Shandera, who received that document in the mail, was a very good friend of Steven Spielberg. Spielberg told him this story in 1983. Spielberg went back in 1982 to preview E.T. to President Reagan. At the end of the movie, the President and Steve got up and they were walking into the dining room, and Reagan puts his arm around Steve and whispers into his ear, "Steve, there aren't 6 people in this room who know how true that is." In addition, a plan had been formed.
Which makes you think Disclosure Day, he might be dropping an Easter egg there if E.T.'s got some fucking truth to it. And I told people that, and they said, no, it's Close Encounters and stuff like that. But E.T. as well, Close Encounters is based on a true story. Supposedly. There's rumours that Disclosure Day is a follow-on from that. I don't know about that, but...
...formulated in 1968 to make the public aware of the existence of aliens on Earth over the next 15 years. To be culminated with several documentaries to be released in the 1983-1985 period of time. These documentaries would explain the history and intentions of the EBEs, but the discovery of the grand deception put the entire plans, hopes, and dreams of MJ-12 into utter confusion and panic. Meeting at the country club, which is a remote lodge and private golf course, comfortable sleeping in working quarters, and its own private airstrip, built exclusively by and for the members of MJ-12, it was a factional fight of what to do now. Part of MJ-12, which had now become military top-heavy, wanted to confess the whole scheme and shambles it had become to the American public, begged their forgiveness, and asked for their support. But the majority of MJ-12 argued that there was no way they could do that the situation was untenable, and there was no use in exciting the public with the horrible truth, that they would find it out soon enough, and the best plan was to continue the development of a weapon that could be used against the EBEs. Unfortunately, towards the last of 1987, last December, whatever it was that they had developed to contain the EBEs failed. A new program has been suggested, but it's going to take about 2 years to put into place. Meantime, it is absolutely essential for MJ-12 that nobody finds out what has happened or is going on, and the use of deadly force is authorized. That's the good news. Now here's the bad news. It's too late. Now I'd like to tell you how to play a game. It's lots of fun and anyone can do it. The game is called Who Knows the Truth? There are 3 sides. Those who know the truth and are attempting to conceal it. Then there are those who know the truth and are attempting to reveal it. And then there's the public. Now you can pick any side, but let's say you pick the side who knows the truth but feels the public can't handle it and attempts to conceal it. This side has the advantage because people have been conditioned to believe that there is a reasonable explanation for every sighting, but it's your job to come up with that reasonable explanation. Reasonable explanations that are no longer used are Mars, Venus, Jupiter, and swamp gas. Now the in explanations are now air-to-air refueling, stealth fighters, stealth bombers, and Russian satellite booster reentries. Guys in this group, of course, are MJ-12 themselves, James Oberg of NASA, Bob Schaefer, Carl Sagan, Phil Klass of Aviation Week. You always see these names come up. You don't see anybody with a government. Here's an example of a job not very well done by General Lou Allen, MJ-12 member and current head of Jet Propulsion Laboratory. A guy named Max Feebleman sent a copy of a video taken by a guy named Pazzulli, who got about 5 minutes of the Hudson Valley object cruising silently and majestically along, and he sends it to General Allen. Before I read you what General Allen wrote back, I'm going to show you this tape that Pazzulli took. It's called the Pazzulli tape, and what they do is this runs 5 sequences, but I'm going to only let it go about 2 times.
Yep, and there's a red one tailing him.
That's the seventh one.
Yep. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The first 5 are white. The sixth one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The seventh, no, there's 8.
Yeah, I see it. All right, thanks. Wow.
All right, the first 6 are white. They're heading south-southwest. The next one behind them looks reddish, and then the one tailing way behind is red also. And now I'm going to lose them behind the pine tree. Oh, good God. I don't know.
Not playing.
I'm going to tell you something, honey. I don't know what the hell it is.
It's rotating. Oh, no, maybe not.
They're still heading southwest. Why?
Look at how they're turning.
Well, yeah, it's turning very, very slowly. Oh, you bumped into me. Oh, they're getting too far away. Damn it, I wish I was on the roof. I hope so.
It's like a complete circle.
Well, whatever is in the back is flashing red. It won't come out on video that way, you know, the colors.
You said, did you see this thing?
Mm-hmm. There's more of them than before. Whatever it is. They're still traveling southwest, and I'm going to lose them now because, first of all, they're getting...
Mad piece of footage, I can't fucking understand what I'm looking at here. I'm sure it's very good.
Definitely they're going to lose them because I'm not standing on the roof of my house. Okay, they're gone. Two of them.
Here's what General Allen writes back. Dear Max, several of us scientific folk have taken a look at the tape. The examination has only been visual. I don't think we can apply the effort needed for a really quantitative analysis. We would guess that the lights are attached to one rigid object. A guess might be an airship or a blimp of some sort. Merry Christmas, Lou Allen. Now, just a minute here. General Allen doesn't have time for a quantitative analysis of an object far larger than anything we have, cruising slower for its size than anything we have, and he speculates it's a blimp. I'd be interested to know just what General Allen does have time for. And the bottom line is that for all the billions of dollars JPL gets, all you get is a guess of some sort. Well, anyway, if you choose to play this side, it's better to stick with reentry boosters. Nobody can prove it one way or the other. Now, if you play the side of who knows the truth, and is trying to reveal it, your job's even tougher. Very few people are going to believe you. Guys on this side include Whitley Strieber of Communion and Bud Hopkins, who wrote Intruders and Missing Time, and Billy Myers. And of course, the president. The president? Now,
not a massive fan of Whitley Strieber. Not a massive fan of Billy Myers either. Whitley Strieber took an absolute love length off an alien.
One government official has uttered a word.
Probe. This is like a 10-inch probe. 10-inch probe up his body cough.
Heard about flying saucers since 1969, except the president. And what did the president say? Well, in the past 30 months, the president has made 4 references to a threat by invaders from outer space. You can write and get this from the White House. This is the text of his December 4th, 1985 speech to the Falston High School, just after he was talking with Secretary Gorbachev there in Iceland. He says, I couldn't but at one point in our discussions privately with General Secretary Gorbachev, when you stop to think that we're all God's children wherever we may live in this world, I couldn't help but say to him, just think how easy his task and mine might be in these meetings that we held. If suddenly there was a threat to this world from some other species, from another planet outside in the universe, we'd forget all the little local differences that we have between our countries, and we would find out once and for all that we are all really human beings here on this earth together. Here's the text of the remarks by the President to the 42nd General Assembly of the United Nations, September 21st, 1987. The President of the United States said this: "In our obsession with antagonisms of the moment, we often forget how much unites all the members of humanity. Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bond. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world. And yet I ask you, is not an alien force already among us? What could be more alien to the universal aspirations of our people than war and the threat of war?" In Chicago last month, President Reagan compared the danger of nuclear weapons with a hypothetical situation in which the world was threatened by a power from outer space. Wouldn't we all of a sudden find that we didn't have any differences between us at all? We were all human beings, citizens of the world, and wouldn't we come together and fight that particular threat?
Listen, if mine were 10 inches, I wouldn't get out of bed. I'd ring in work sick. They'd say, "What's up with you?" I'm sick of playing with myself. That's what I'm sick of. It's a good size, but it's not 10 inches.
This is Jed Duvall, May 5th, 1988. ABC. Trying to reveal it. You're subject to a lot of ridicule, but there is one consolation. At the end of the game, when all the players are exposed and the real truth is known, you don't have to do any more explaining. Now you say to me, "John Lear, this is all very interesting and extremely entertaining, but it just can't be true." It can't be true for this one simple reason. The government never has, nor will they ever be able to keep a secret. And I will say this to you: if you truly believe that this government cannot keep a secret when it wants to, then I have some swampland in Florida I need to talk to you about right after this lecture. But you say, "John, surely someone would have talked. One of the astronauts who saw the strange objects on the moon, or one of the astronauts who saw that huge piece of mining equipment on the backside of the moon." Yep, a few of them tried to talk, but they were silenced, most notably Gordon Cooper. Lost his ride in Apollo over it. They are silenced by JANUP 146E, that's Joint Army, Navy, Air Force publication 146E, which is an order that prohibits members of the armed forces from discussing UFO incidents or sightings on penalty of 10 years in jail, $10,000 fine, and forfeiture of all pay and or pension. You have to understand that this is the biggest secret in the world, the biggest secret in the history of mankind. So you say, "Okay, John, you told me a lot of stories and interesting anecdotes, but what is your best evidence that all this is true?" Well, it'd be difficult to give a brief summary of what my best evidence is because of the nature and the complexity and the thoroughness of the cover-up has been so effective. It wasn't one thing, it wasn't 10 things. It was hundreds of little things that would for the most part go unnoticed. But if I had to give my best examples, it would be the following cases: the Cash Landrum case, the Gulf Breeze case, the Lonnie Zamora case, the Thomas Mantell case, the 1975 SAC base overflights, the JAL incident in Alaska, the Bentwaters incident, the Walton incident, the Pascagoula incident, the Kirtland Air Force Base incident, the Bentwaters case, the Roswell incident, the Stryber abduction, the Davis abduction, the Hill abduction, the Doherty case, the Stoner case, the Kentucky abduction case, the Wake Island incident, the Harmon Field incident, the South Caicos incident, the Hudson Valley sightings, and the Wytheville, Virginia sightings. If you gave me 5 minutes on each of these cases, in about 2 hours and 30 minutes, you would begin to understand what I'm talking about. In addition, I would ask you to watch the following videotapes: 1984 CNN documentary on Bentwaters, the 1985 HBO documentary on UFOs, the Gulf Breeze documentary, the Sandler Films documentary called UFOs It Has Begun, UFOs Are Real by Brandon Chase, and Strange Harvest by Linda Howe. Then I would have you read the following documents: the Eisenhower briefing, Chapter 13 of Introductory Space Science, the Aquarius briefing, the Stringfield papers, all of President Reagan's speeches, the Senator Richard Russell sighting in Russia, 1955, the W.B. Smith memo, the Dr. Robert Sarbacher letter. Sarbacher, who's that? Dr. Robert Sarbacher. Dr. Robert Sarbacher was...
You can share it to X and stuff. I don't know how easy. I share it to X and stuff, my YouTube stuff, and my I usually do a YouTube and my WhatsApp and that, but Yeah, I suppose it's a bit difficult for you where to put it in that. If a lot of your friends aren't into UFOs, then not going to look at it, are they?
One of our most important scientists.
Who believes John Lear, though? Because, you know, his dad was high up and he was... People think he was an agent and his whole job was to spread disinformation and stuff like that.
He was president and chairman of the board of the Washington Institute of Technology, and on November 29th, 1983, he wrote this letter. Now, do you think the Las Vegas press would print anything like this in there? No, no, no. They're going to print all that baloney. But here's what Dr. Robert I. Sawbarker had to say to Mr. William Steinman in answer to some of his questions. Steinman is a UFO researcher. Number one, relating to my own experience regarding recovered flying saucers, I had no association with any of the people involved in the recovery and have no knowledge regarding the dates of the recoveries. If I had, I would send it to you. I did receive some official reports in the Pentagon, but all of these were left there at the time and we never were supposed to take them out of our office. About the only thing I remember at the time is that certain materials reported to have come from the flying saucer crashes were extremely light and very tough. I am sure our laboratories analyzed them very carefully. There were reports that instruments or people operating these machines were also very lightweight, sufficient to withstand the tremendous deceleration and acceleration associated with their machinery. I remember in talking with some of the people at the office that I got the impression that these aliens were constructed like certain insects we have observed on Earth, wherein, because of the low mass, the inertial forces involved in operations of these instruments would be quite low. This is Sawbarker saying this. I still do not know why the high order of classification has been given, or why the denial of the existence of these devices. Also, Blue Book report number 13. I'd have you read that, and then these following books. Communion by Whitley Strieber, Missing Time by Bud Hopkins, Intruders by Bud Hopkins, Light Years by Gary Kinder, Clear Intent by Fawcett and Greenwood, Sky Crash by Randalls, Butler and Street, The Roswell Incident by Moore, Crash at Aztec by Steinman, the April issue of Fate magazine, Above Top Secret by Timothy Good. When you have digested that information, you would probably agree with me that the UFO cover-up is the biggest in the history of mankind. Maybe for good reason, maybe not. Maybe the truth is too frightening for many of us to be told, but it's my contention.
Bill Moore did come out though in 1989 on the MUFON conference, which you've not seen. It's the 5-hour one that I've got on my archived finger, saying the disinformation and stuff like that. And then he spoke about Timothy Good, where he's got 20 and back on it, and then he admitted to it all being a lie and shit like that.
That if a person decides he wants to know the truth, then he ought to be able to have access to it. In my opinion, the cover-up was not well thought out. The only thought at the time of the beginning was total, absolute cover-up. What should probably have happened was that a parallel cover-up should have been run. The parallel cover-up should have admitted to the public the existence of recovered saucer, but not necessarily alien bodies, something less threatening, maybe remote control. This would have gotten the public used to the fact that, yes, there was something out there, but we didn't know what. And give them 20, 30 years to think about it. If this sounds ridiculous, if this sounds like the ravings of a frustrated science fiction writer, if this sounds like a B-movie plot, that's exactly what the government wants it to sound like. And most people will buy the...
Did he say Timothy Good, or did he say Corey Good? I'm on about Corey Good. Did he say Timothy Good? If he did, then I apologise. I misheard him.
Government lie. After all, they lied to you about Pentagon Papers, they lied to you about Watergate, they lied to you about Irangate, but surely they wouldn't lie to you about flying saucers. Surely they would have told you if they'd had recovered an extraterrestrial vehicle.
I said Timothy Good. I got confused. I meant Corey Good. Yeah, I don't think he said Corey Good, did he?
Surely they wouldn't have Carl Sagan and James Oberg and Bob Schaefer and Phil Klass giving you 1,001 reasons why flying saucers aren't real if they were. Our government is an honest government. They want you to know the truth at all times. Well, the truth may be frightening. The truth may undermine our present religious beliefs. The truth may be that we were just an experiment, but the truth is still the truth, and nothing can change that. Not the military, not the government, and not me. Thank you.
I think they ask questions now.
Thank you. We have some time for questions here, and we have a couple of remote microphones, and the girls are going to be passing through the audience here. If you'll keep your hand up and motion to the girls while we're answering one question, they'll know who to go to next. So girls, if we can come out here and one work one side of the...
Is anybody aware of Jeremy Corbell UFO? Of course we're aware of Jeremy Corbell. Who do you think we are? David TZ3QN.
room, one work the other side of the room.
Dave, do you know who George Knapp is or Bob Lazar?
Keep your hands up here and we'll try to get to everybody. Go ahead.
Welcome in, how's it look, mate? You fucking cunt. So what I love about the Aussies, they use that C-U-N-T, see you next Tuesday word all the time. Fuck you, cunt. Fuck, cunt. What are you doing, cunt?
Michelle.
I'd like to ask Mr. Lear if there are any other countries that may be involved in this cover-up other than the United States.
Yeah, the United States runs basically the whole cover-up. Russia's in it, France, England, Australia, Canada.
Yeah, I say it all the time. I've been researching for 27 years. I might look young, but I'm not. I'm 40 years old. I started researching when I was 1999. Been into it since 97. I've done a video on that. 1997 is one of the best years, in my opinion. People should go and check that 10, 11-minute video out I did. It'll remind you of how special that year was. 96, 97, but mainly 97. I was going to reply to a comment there. Whose other comment? No, it wasn't. That's fucking lying. Okay.
Canada, but we run pretty much the whole thing. Britain has kind of stepped off in the past few months to run their own program. Next question. Who are the girls?
I'm right here.
Okay, go ahead.
Is the microphone on? Okay. Well, actually, my question is kind of twofold. First of all, I'm kind of concerned about you. You have such a bold way of bringing all this information out. Aren't you concerned for your welfare? And secondly, what's going on in Area 51 out by the Nevada test site?
First question, am I worried? No, I'm not worried because I don't represent a threat to these people. First of all, I only talk to groups like 300, mostly 10, 15 people.
Right, see, this is what I don't understand. How can he not be a threat to people, right? And I get this is before the internet. So the only people that would have seen this wouldn't have been televised. So it's one of those, this is why it's a really shit recording, because it's someone with a camcorder that recorded this event. This wasn't televised or anything like that. It wasn't on the internet. So it was one of those go-to-them events. So I can understand it's a little bit, a small percentage of people would have seen this or know about this. But it certainly became a problem for them when it started going on George Knapp's show and he started to go on TV and start talking about it. How can that not be a problem? How can you say that's not going to be a problem for them? Of course it is. Of course it is. I don't get that.
This is the largest I've ever talked to, and that doesn't threaten them. If I went on the Johnny Carson show or something and started talking like that, then that would be a threat. But local stuff like this, it doesn't hurt them, and it satisfies my desire to get the information out. And I'm not on a crusade, so thank you for your concern. But the only thing strange that ever happened, and I used to say nothing strange ever happened, is after Channel 3 did their 3-part UFO special, that the Friday, the last one was on a Thursday. Friday morning I was out changing the sprinklers, and this little airplane with no registration numbers came out and flew around my house for about 15 minutes, and I just got the pictures back yesterday, and I had time to run in and get a telephoto lens, and there are no registrations. The answer to your second question, Area 51, you know, that's all speculation. We do know that SDI is going on up there, and a lot of other interesting things. Next question.
In your last lecture, you spoke about a holograph machine that they had. Can you speak more about that again?
Yeah. At this point, I want to tell you that I've only told you 40% of what I know. If I told you the rest, you just flat wouldn't believe it. Okay, she brought up some of the stuff that I don't normally discuss because it's so far out. But since she asked the question, there's 4 videotapes floating around that we're trying to get public. Bill Moore, a UFO researcher in Burbank, California, has 2 of these videotapes. These videotapes are of 2 well-known newsmen interviewing a guy with MJ-12, or associate, and he spills the bean. They ask him everything about the cover-up, who's in it, all about the aliens, about the deal, everything. And these videotapes are trying to get out on national network, but they haven't been successful. Last summer, there was 5 people who were allowed to see the videotape to get a test reaction. I talked to 3 of them. One of them was Paul Harvey, the news commentator in Chicago. And I told him everything about the cover-up, who's in it, what I know. If I told you the rest, you just flat wouldn't believe it. Okay, she brought up some of the stuff that I don't normally discuss because it's so far out. But since she asked the question, there's 4 videotapes floating around that we're trying to get public. Bill Moore, a UFO researcher in Burbank, California, has 2 of these videotapes. These videotapes are...
Fuck yes, yes. I've never seen this, so I didn't know. So I've done a fucking tapes saying Bill Moore had these tapes. There was a letter about it, right? And he went on George Knapp, and this was 10 years before the alien interview tape. This is the first time I've heard him speak about it. I need to clip this, and I need to do a video on it and share it to John Stewart.
Are of 2 well-known newsmen interviewing a guy with MJ-12, or associate, and he spills the bean. They ask him everything about the cover-up, who's in it, all about the aliens, about the deal, everything. And these videotapes are trying to get out on national network, but they haven't been successful. Last summer, there was 5 people who were allowed to see the videotape to get a test reaction. I talked to 3, has 2 of these videotapes. At this point, I want to tell you that I've only told you 40% of what I know. If I told you the rest, you just flat wouldn't believe it. Okay, she brought up some of the stuff that I don't normally discuss because it's so far out. But since she asked the question, there's 4 videotapes floating around that we're trying to get public. Bill Moore, a UFO researcher in Burbank, California, has 2 of these videotapes. These videotapes are of 2 well-known newsmen interviewing a guy with MJ-12, or associate, and he spills the bean. They ask him everything about the cover-up, who's in it, all about the aliens, about the deal, everything. And these videotapes are trying to get out on national network, but they haven't been successful. Last summer, there was 5 people who were allowed to see the videotape to get a test reaction. I talked to 3 of them. One of them was Paul Harvey, the news commentator in Chicago. And I talked to him after he saw it. He told me he was totally shocked. He was not sure whether to believe it or not, but in any case, he wasn't going to be the one to tell the public. Okay, now there's two other videotapes out that Bill Moore doesn't have, but they're going to be released shortly, supposedly. One of them is a videotape of an interview with EBE-3. And the other videotape is, I know this is hard to believe, but believe me, it's true. These aliens have got a machine. It's a laser type machine. It's recorded all of Earth's history, all the way back to when we were a bright red ball. And by programming it, they can pull up anything that ever happened on the Earth. And the videotape she's talking about is they pulled up the crucifixion of Christ. And we filmed it on, it comes in a holographic display, and we put it on 35mm film, but it doesn't look right. And one of Linda Howe's jobs when she was originally attached with MJ-12, and they were going to release us the information in 1983, was to figure out how to put the holographic image on film so it didn't look fake. Thanks for the question. Okay, next one. Up there, go ahead.
At the risk of being ridiculed, there's something else that's ridiculed a lot. I'm a Christian, and in the Bible, Satan has been pretty ridiculed by people as being, you know, this guy with a you know, horns and everything. And he is definitely a master deceiver, and I wouldn't be surprised at all that he's behind these abductions, alien beings.
Okay, thank you. Next question.
Have you found out anything about the method of propulsion that the vehicles use?
Say again?
The method of propulsion that they use.
Well, obviously it's an anti-gravity machine, but the one part of the technology that they did give us, or help us develop, was called nuclear MHD, nuclear magnetohydrodynamics power. And you need an engineer to explain how that works. But we do have several vehicles that are powered by this. Go ahead.
Are you aware that there was a film called Hangar 18 where it exposed the CIA covering up UFOs?
Am I aware of Hangar 18?
Yeah, a film that was made called Hangar 18 where it showed that.
Yeah, that was based on all these stories. There is, I don't know whether it's Hangar 18, but there is definitely a place at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base where a lot of this stuff is stored. A lot of saucers, a lot of alien technology, a lot of their equipment, and some of the bodies. It definitely is there.
Last October or November, I believe it was, over in the Red Rock, way above Red Rock, out that way, there was a huge, bright light. It almost looked like a mushroom, and the newspapers kept saying, well, it was just a rocket that exploded, and I don't believe them, and because they came out with it so much later than the event, you know, and they never explained it that night. I was wondering if you had some knowledge about that.
Well, Mount Charleston and the Blue Diamond area is located in what they call vortexes. You can check your Bouguer chart, which is published by Coast and Geodetic Survey, and they give you the areas of most intense gravity. If you look at around these places on new moon, full moon, or perigee, when the magnetism and the gravity is focused onto this spot, it creates the possibility for interdimensional transfer. If you think I'm kidding, I had an interesting conversation with a scientist from Los Alamos last night, and I told him about this, and I was a little hesitant to talk to him about it because it sounds pretty far out. And he said, you know, John, there's a physicist working with us on this, and it relates directly with this theory. This theory is right on the money. So Charleston, new moon, full moon, and perigee, you'll see whatever you want to see. Go ahead.
What is SDI that is going on at the nuclear test site in Nevada? You said SDI?
SDI? SDI is a...
It's only 20 minutes left. This is part 3.
Cover?
No, honestly though, I've never seen this lecture before. But I've spoken about John Lear on George Knapp, and I've spoken about the letter. In that letter, this is basically, I'm just hearing it now for the first time, verbally. Answer this, right? If the 1997 alien interview tape is a hoax, why speak about it 10 years prior to it being released? It makes no sense. It could be a military staged hoax. That doesn't make sense. You just release a short clip of it without the sound. And that's what they did. And then you get these special effects people saying, oh, we can make a better one. Well, yeah, because you're a fucking special effects artist. Doesn't need to be better. It's just in dark room because the eyes and shit like that. It's just a fucking alien being interviewed. And that is the one I will hang my hat on and say that is real. If someone says there's an alien interview, an alien tape out there that's real, I'd say, right, it's the 1997 one. 100% it's that one. 100%. I'm buzzing that I've seen that.
For the money that goes into the weapon against the...
I'll do a new video now this has come out, add it to the evidence that I've got of it. Loads of evidence. You don't do it for 10 years before. It doesn't make sense. Make that make sense. If I'm going to make a hoax, you release the hoax. You don't speak about it 10 years before, which means it's been made already. So it's been made prior to 1988, been made prior to 1987 when it was on George Knapp. So it's early 80s when this was made, but yet it came out nearly 20 years later. Come on, man.
DVDs. As a matter of fact, I have the definition, or I had it here. I'll see if I can flip through it. What the definition of, oh, here it is. Definition of SDI. Program for deep space acquisition capable of tracking, plotting, and engaging targets in deep space. Now, Russian rockets don't come from deep space. Up there.
At your last lecture, you mentioned a book about Bentwater that wasn't allowed in the United States. Can you give me an author's name and exact title?
Yeah, I found 2 copies. They're up at the Psychic Institute up on Maryland Parkway. There's 2 copies left up there. I've never seen it in the United States, but I was walking through the other day and saw it. Yeah.
You said that there was like 70 species of aliens.
At least.
Okay, are some of them like human-like? I mean, like you or...
Some of them are, but my favorite ones are, we're working with a little boy down in Phoenix that went through a rather traumatic experience. He saw the same type of individual that abducted.
What does SNS mean? I don't know. I've just ignored it for the time being, but Heiser, what does SNS mean? It's doing my head in.
The 2 dock workers down there in Pascagoula, and they're my favorite. They look like pickles. They're 6 feet high. They have the bumps.
No, he doesn't. This is why I say to people, I paid for his documentary right before it got pulled. I actually paid for it, about £6, right, out of my own pocket there to watch it, because I was interested in it and see it. He's got most of the names right. I know that from my own research, right? Not a lot of people have done any digging on this, and that's the problem. And I've done lives on it. I've covered it extensively, the alien interview tape. I did my own half-hour thing. It could have been a documentary if you wanted to, where I've said I think it's Bill Moore. There's loads of evidence to suggest it's Bill Moore. I'll show you Bill Moore is quickly. That's Bill Moore. Bottom right. That's who I think Victor is. Now, this would have been 1989, which would have been 7-8 years before the 1997 thing. I think potentially he is. Look at this one here. I can't fucking... 1 minute. Could that be Victor? Holy shit, I've just noticed something. Look at that tie. I've never seen this image of Bill Moore. 1 minute. That tie is fucking similar, folks, isn't it? Ooh. Corey Good's a dick. I don't pay any attention to Corey Good. Ooh. I need to save that. I've never seen that image of him. Why has that image come up? Let's go back. Sorry about that. Bit of investigating live there. Back to the video.
All over them, and they have a couple of set of weird-looking eyes and weird-looking noses or ears, and this is what this poor little guy down in Phoenix ran into. Yeah, they look all kinds of different ways.
Okay, also, this is kind of a personal question, because you touched on it, and she did, about that SDI and Glasnost. And do you think there's a probability that we're getting together because we're going to get together mainly for a world defense?
SDI and Glasnost is all smoke. We really got a problem. You're going to know about it very, very shortly. Yeah.
Recently, I read a magazine by Linda Howe, was the editor. It was her premier issue, and in there, it's a.
John Stewart thinks it's Standeo, but Standeo came out and said it's not him, and asked him to. That's why he pulled the interview. That's why he pulled the documentary. So I was lucky to see it. And he came to the conclusion, I think, of Standeo from waking up half asleep, seeing him on the TV and thinking that's Bill Moore, but I think there's a phone call as well which suggested it could be him, but apparently he's denied it.
Cora did it. he's an astronomer, recorded several thousand feet of a UFO actually producing its own cloud-like cover, and they boasted that they've penetrated all of our nuclear missile sites and the Soviet Union's.
Yeah, in 1975, every one of our Strategic Air Command bases on the northern perimeter.
He doesn't know who Victor is. John Stewart does not know who Victor is. That's why he wants to speak to Bill Moore. He did a post 2 days ago about Bill Moore. He dismissed Bill Moore. I've done an interview with John Stewart. It's on my YouTube channel if you've not seen it. And we go into it, and we agree if it's a stage, it's a military stage fate, but it doesn't make sense. And he said it's not Bill Moore. And then he messaged me saying, I need everything you know about Bill Moore. And he put, "You're the man." And I shared that in a live, that message. So he wants all my information on Bill Moore. He wants my research on it, so fair play.
The United States was overflown by UFO for 3 hours, every single base. They stayed there with impunity. They changed the tracking guidance system. They reprogrammed the coordinates. I don't know where they changed them to, but they changed them. And there's also rumors that they inerted all the nuclear material. That's true. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes. On a show called People Are Talking, about a month ago, there were 4 people who claimed to be aliens. It's a station out of New York City. I saw it on cable. And they were telling that they were mentioning their purpose on Earth was to teach the human race how to live in peace. Because if man did not become in rhythm with the universe, he would definitely blow himself up.
And what's the question?
It was not a question. I was wondering if you were aware of these people, if you heard anything about these people who were on this talk show.
I learned about a year ago to file everything because it just might be true. So I don't discard anything. Okay, over there.
Yeah, when I was in California, at a bookstore, there was a book called Incident at Exeter, and it was stockpiled, and I went back to buy one, and it was about aliens that had landed and told a farmer to take pictures and told him when they were going to come back, and he took all these pictures, and it was gone. All the books were gone from the store the next day. You know about that book?
I know about the book. It's a good book. I haven't read that in a long time, but you can probably get it still through one of these different publication centers that deal in UFO and psychic and stuff like that. Probably can find it. It's a good book. Yes.
Several years ago, there was a movie that came out on TV. It was called Hangar 18, and a few years after that, the name was changed to Invasion from Outer Space. About the last 15 minutes of the second version of the movie was cut, and it was an excerpt from a newscast, allegedly from the saucer crash in Roswell. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah. And so what did they change the second version to?
They took out the excerpt, saying that there was a news release, and it was based on fact, and all the information be obtained. Any idea why they took it out?
No.
Have you ever seen the movie?
Yeah, I sure have. Yeah, I got it. It's a good movie. I don't have any idea. Go ahead.
I'd like to know how these aliens died that are frozen. And do you honestly think that they're hostile?
How they die? The ones recovered died in crashes. The only one that I know that was shot at Fort Dix McGuire. I have the actual report, the incident report. He was shot by an MP, and happened in 1978. The other ones that we have on ice, they were probably taken from crashes. And the second part of your question was?
Do you honestly think they're hostile? Will they actually hurt us? Or do they have to be pushed?
Believe me, at least the Greys will. The others are pretty friendly. Yeah.
There are people who consider these fourth-dimensional beings and claim to communicate with them in high-energy areas like Sedona and Mount Shasta and Hawaii. What do you know about these?
1988, and they're talking about Mount Shasta and Sedona and stuff. Like what Russ Coulthard is breaking news. We have portals. It was spoken about in the 70s and 80s. Ross, you're behind. You're behind. You're waking up the Coronation Street watchers. You twat. This Can't believe I've not seen this one before, man. It's so interesting. Just verifies a lot of things that were said. And what's being said now.
I didn't understand the question. Say it again.
There are
Do you
people.
not do your heading? People have researched for a long time, and you see something like Ross Coulthard or something, the breaking news, there's portals. It's like, well, you called us dickheads and tinfoil hat weirdos for saying this. Why can you do it? Why can you say this now and say there's evidence of this building so big to build a building over it? Fucking hell.
People who claim to communicate with the UFOs and claim that they're fourth dimensional beings coming from another plane of vibration, that they only come into this third dimensional existence for us to communicate and see them.
Like I say, Sedona is a very high energy vortex area. It's a real thing. It's a center of intense gravity, and during certain times of the month, it can create the ability for interdimensional transfer, and that's when you see all.
What's a conspiracy, you Mar 2000? Are you saying that aliens don't exist? Are you saying it's all a psyop? Are you saying you don't believe in anything? Are you saying the Epstein list doesn't exist? Are you saying they didn't do loads of sick shit? That was a conspiracy. Jimmy Savile was a conspiracy. Be careful, every single conspiracy seems to be coming true. It takes decades, but it eventually comes true. Fucking lunatics saying they're aliens. I don't like your tone, Yomar 2000. You need to explain yourself right now.
These saucers, you never see them on any other days. If I give you a list of new moon, full moon, and perigee, you can go right down the newspaper and see the sightings. And as far as the communication, like I just said, I don't disbelieve anything. I file it all away because I'm just liable to find out it's true.
You made a comment about the possibility of a 4-year time frame, unless I'm taking this out of context. I think your comment was that in 2 to 4 years we'll find out the truth anyway. I wonder if you can elaborate on, are you aware of something that you haven't shared with us, or?
I'm aware of a lot that I haven't shared with you, and I just can't do it because it's just too unbelievable.
I would argue that it brings unstable people to the crowd. I would say it brings the most smartest people to the crowd. I would say it's the religious folk that are the most unstable. You don't see wars going on. You don't see people with orange jumpsuits in front of me and me doing horrible things to their heads in the name of religion or in the name of believing in aliens, do you? You don't see that. You don't see atheist wars. You don't see agnostic wars. You don't see the prophecy of the atheists. There's a pattern, and the pattern isn't people like myself, is there? I don't read a book and then think, right, I know everything because of this book. People should put the books down, have the beliefs, and be open-minded to everything. And I think sometimes some religious people aren't like that. Some are open-minded, but some of them are just totally dead set against anything else other than that book. And I can't understand that. I just think that's weird. I really do.
It's like trying to teach somebody arithmetic and starting out with algebra. And for the benefit of anybody, I won't go into it. As far as the time frame, the time frame is 1 to 4 years, and you will know something within the next 6 months. Yes.
You know anything about the Urantia book?
Excuse me.
The Urantia book. Are you familiar with it?
Yes.
Can you elaborate upon it?
The question is?
Can you tell us something about it?
It'd take too long. It's an interesting book. Next question.
What do you propose we...
That's a bit odd, wasn't it? Why he just dismissed that one.
do about it at this point in time?
Oh, that's a good question. Everybody listen up. What can you do about this? The question is, what can you do? Listen up. Here's the answer. Absolutely nothing. Next question.
Mr. Lear, in our discussion, this is up here, we had a discussion earlier. You said something about they were able to be shot, but you only had a certain amount of time to do it or something like that. Could you elaborate on that a little bit more?
Yeah, what's the question? I'm sorry, I didn't...
About defending yourself against these kind of things. You said that...
Yeah, if you're interested in the Alien Races book, yeah, I'll show you something. So you got all your alien races here, right? And you'll have some images as well, I think, further down. Maybe. Let me go. It's a bit off topic, but someone asked a question, so if you want to know, I like to send people to it. There's one with images, I know that, so. You got these ones here. That's not the one I was thinking of, but there is. Try this one. It's on here. I ain't got time because obviously I'm in the live, but it's on there 100%. Biblioteca Pleiades.
There was a certain amount of time you had that you could shoot one, like you mentioned earlier, that one had been shot.
If you're dealing with a graze, you have 1 second. That's how long it takes them to take over your mind. The Air Force has certain programs which people are taught if they're dealing in and around these people. I don't know how it works. I do know that it's effective. I know somebody who listened to a tape of an Air Force transport pilot near Hawaii communicating, trying to fend off the taking over of his mind. But if you see one, you have 1 second to get them or to take over your mind.
Mr. Lear, I'm sure you've thought of things that you're not saying right now. However, I think it should be considered that this may sound extremely bizarre.
Yeah, you've missed 2 hours and 16 minutes. This is, we was going to do part 1, part 2, but we've just watched the 2 hours and 2 hours and 20 minutes. We've got about 10 minutes left of it.
But however, if the speeches of John F. Kennedy are studied before he was killed, before he was shot, I'm not sure when, but about a week or two before, he said he was going to expose a great fraud that was perpetrated upon the American public. And certainly MJ-12, certainly he was a member of MJ-12 who was going to expose this to the American people. And I believe that's why he may have been killed. And there may be some answers lie there, as well as with the attempted assassination of Reagan. I believe at the time he was assassinated, he may have been trying to expose aspects of MJ-12 there too, perhaps. And maybe this sounds bizarre and ridiculing, but I think there's something there maybe. Maybe you should consider it if you haven't already.
The actual conversation took place 3 weeks before Kennedy was assassinated. A friend of mine heard the tape. It was taken in the Oval Office. He told MJ-12 to get it together because he was going to release the information to the public. The problem was, and why they had to deal with him like that, is because President Eisenhower was the one who let the power of the problem was. A friend of mine heard the tape. It was taken in the Oval Office. He told MJ-12 to get it together because he was going to...
That tape got released last year, do you remember? In the... where it was Lyndon B. Johnson speaking to... I think it was Lyndon B. Johnson speaking to someone about killing the president. It was released last year. He's speaking about it in 1988.
Information to the public. The problem was, and why they had to deal with him like that, is because President Eisenhower was the one who let the power of the executive office slip through the fingers of the president into MJ.
That song it's not sung, it's an AI song. I created the lyrics and Monty helped me with the video, putting the video together. But yeah, it's a song using my brain into lyrics, and then AI sang it. That's what the intro song is. I own the rights to it, so...
MJ-12 runs the country. Dwight Eisenhower was the last president to be fully briefed on the aliens. No president since then has got a full briefing, including President Reagan. The power is not in their hands. That subject, though, is one that can definitely get you killed.
Yeah. I was wondering what types of weapon systems do the aliens, or can they use against the Earth? And can they control the weather?
The weather can be controlled. I think that Russia or us, we can control the weather. The weapons that they use, they're just your regular laser and space-type weapons. Was that your answer? That was your question?
Weather against us as a weapon. Can they use the weather as a weapon against us?
Which weapons?
Can they cause droughts? Can they cause earthquakes?
Speculation. Sure they can. Yes,
Yes, how did our government make this?
I'm going to create a brand new outro as well, but I might make a funny outro. But funny, taking the piss out of the UFO topic on how I think people have, like, lied and shit over the... Just basically put my research into a funny song. So stay tuned for that. I will be creating that over the next week or two.
This agreement, how did they communicate with the aliens?
I don't know whether it was by mental telepathy or how they did it. I don't know about that.
In light of the not too recent or somewhat past creationist and evolutionist debates, if you say that these beings have recorded history from whatever time began, or the universe of the so-called Big Bang, it would behoove you and any other evolutionist propagandist to bring this out and stamp out religion right now. Why don't you?
Just let me comment on that. The reference to the Bible comes up several times. I will tell you right now that the Bible is far more literal than you have any idea. Okay.
Some breaking news. About an hour ago, so you might not have seen it if you're watching this. First it's Bigfoot, now a 7-ton asteroid meteor over northeast Ohio triggers boom and fragments in Medina County, NASA reports. Ooh.
Question?
I was just wondering, what do you think their ultimate disposition is going to be with us? What's their ultimate motive for being here?
Are you talking about the Greys?
Uh-huh.
The Greys' reason for being here is the regeneration of their own species. Over the period of years, they have lost their ability to digest and their ability to reproduce. About 3 weeks ago, there was a movie on NBC that went right over everybody's head. What it was called Somebody Is Out There, and it was the first release of the information from MJ-12 to the public to see how they would react. And there have been probably lots of polls taken since that to see how they would react. I sat down there very carefully and wrote down a number of items, what they were trying to tell us. And if I can come up with that thing right here before we go too far, one of the items they were trying to get across is some aliens are good, some aliens are bad. The race that we are having trouble with is here to regenerate itself at our own expense. One of the things that got across is that nobody would believe it. And there was about 5 points, but those are the basic points. I can't find it right here, but there was about 7 basic points, and that's what somebody was out there was trying to get across to the public. Yeah.
You spoke last week of EBE-3 being held at something called a YY2 facility, and I got the impression that it is able to dematerialize. Is that correct?
Yes, the EBEs are 1 billion years older than us. They can move by thought. They can disappear. They're held in a facility called YY-2. It was designed by Dr. Eric Wang in the early 50s, who worked directly for Dr. Kissinger. There were 2 of those facilities as of a couple of years ago. One was in Los Alamos. One was either at Edwards or up at the test site. If there can be anything humorous in all this, I was allowed to read 25 secret CIA memos on this trip I told you about. And in one of the memos, they can move by thought, and this YY-2 facility is electromagnetic and keeps them from going in and out by thought, but they can still disappear. So in the body of the text of one of these memos I was allowed to look at, I couldn't copy or write down anything, but it said, by the way, EBE-3 wants to see the ocean. We'd better make the arrangements or he'll disappear again.
Yes, Mr. Lear, I attended your last lecture, and upon some goading from the audience, you released an additional secret, and that's when you told...
Welcome in, Skywatch, a bit late. I tagged you in something, that thing with about the alien interview tape, and Bill Moore. I've not seen this one before, but I've told people about it in a letter and what he sent George Knapp, so this verified it. That's why I think Bill Moore is Victor.
Told us about the holograph time machine. Being this going to be your last lecture, is there any little bizarre fact you'd like to lay on us before you...
I'm telling you, it is so far out. Okay, next question.
Excuse me, how do they regenerate through us?
The EBEs, I don't know how they regenerate.
This is from 1988, super rare footage. This was not on TV, this wasn't on the internet, this is someone's camcorder obviously recording this. That's the only way you can see these kind of things. That's why they're super rare. You should know better, Skywatcher. So share the shit out of it.
There's been a lot of speculation on that point. They don't have any reproductive organs. They could, well, I don't know. I just have to say I don't know. Which I'm saying a lot here, and that's truthful. Next question.
If there are 70 different beings, and they're far more advanced than us, why are they acting in a general same way? Why doesn't some come straight out to us instead of kind of undercover and quiet?
Straight out, like landing on the White House lawn, or?
Well, like if we went to another planet, would we be in hiding? Wouldn't we come out to the beings? If there's 70 different types, they all come from different areas. Wouldn't they all react different on their approach to us?
Probably, and the answer is sheer speculation on my part. The answer that I would give was they're probably not allowed to interfere. So this is why they don't make themselves known in that way. Yeah, up there.
Yes, Mr. Lear, I'd like to ask you another question about what's going on in the Nevada desert. Is there a colony of extraterrestrials out there now? And if so, how many and what variety?
Supposedly, within the confines of the test site or within 100 miles of the test site, there is 600 of them, the Greys, and they're working with us or against us, depends on who you listen to, and that information comes from an unimpeachable source. It's all I can tell you. Next.
Okay. How do we know how to keep them alive?
How do we what?
How we keep...
Unimpeachable source? So it could have been the president at the time. Were they unimpeachable? Or a king?
Keeping them alive.
How are we keeping them alive? They're keeping themselves alive if you're talking about the Greys. And they use the cattle, they use hormones.
Do you know, people have been watching this for 2 and a bit hours. Skywatch comes in for the last 2 seconds and goes, I can't fucking deal with it. I'm going to get epilepsy.
And enzymes.
Change that name to Skywatch Vagina Signal.
Taken from the cattle mutilations, and they mix it in this concoction, and since they don't have any, since their digestive system is atrophied,
my voice is not low.
Nuclear war, or
your ears are low.
Through an evolutionary, they may be on the backside of an evolutionary curve. They can't digest, so what they do is take this mixture and they rub it on themselves, and their body absorbs the nutrients and then excretes the waste back through the skin. I've talked to Whitley Strieber about this, who has a lot of contact with the Greys, and he sees them doing this kind of stuff all the time, scraping the waste off their skin.
Based on your knowledge and information, is there a particular reason why you chose to live in Las Vegas?
No, I was transferred down here in 1973. I worked for an airline, and we bid on the a drop can on the Thunderbird hotel contracts, and when I got here, I just stayed here forever. Yes, next question.
You sounded outraged when you talked about experiments on humans, but isn't this just...
Sorry, I forgot to fucking put the subtitles on the second part.
just what we do to animals? Why are you so upset about it?
What was the first part? Sound outraged when what?
You sounded outraged when you talked about experiments on humans. But this is just what we do to animals, and why should we complain?
It's a very good point. A very good point. Next question.
Mr. Lear, you said that they
There's nothing wrong with my microphone, it's fine. Can everybody else hear me? Can everybody hear? It's nearly finished anyway, but can everybody hear me? Skywatchers come in, it's like, I swear to God, it's like listening to me missus. Hi everybody, I can't hear it. Turn your mic up. It's shaking. I can't do this, I can't do that. Why is the pot's not gone?
are not allowed to interfere with us. But
remember, that's speculation.
Oh.
Is Skywatch my missus in disguise?
Okay, but before you said that they put computer chips on our chromosomes and little BB computers in our minds. And they're actually programming us.
Yeah, excellent.
So consequently, they are allowed. I would think they're allowed.
Some probably broke the law, right?
Oh.
Can't even imagine that. Next question. Allison. Anybody else out there?
And that is it. You've watched it all with me. And I'm buzzing I watched it because of the alien interview stuff. I didn't know that was in this interview. I was looking for him to say it verbally. I know he said it on George Knapp. I've not seen that. That was a big part to back up the research that I've been doing on the alien interview tape. Laugh my ass off if you don't want to see me in a skirt. I don't know. Be funny. I promise I won't share it if you send me a picture. Send me a picture of yourself in a skirt and I promise I won't share it. Promise you I won't share it all over the internet. I'll do a video on it. Promise you right now I would not do that to you, Skywatch. So what did you think of it, folks? And have you got any questions before I wind down the live? And the guy that grabbed the hold of the alien died could have been from the stuff. Yeah, you're right. The Virginia one, and they say that they stink. It's like a putrid smell, and it's because they eat and shit through the skin. That's why I said how aliens eat. Whitley Strieber spoke about it. Wendell Stevens spoke about it. Strieber did as well. John Lear has spoken about it. But I did a watch along with the Wendell Stevens one where he's spoken about it. Where they'd take the enzymes from the cattle, and it's the same enzyme that's in a human tongue. So when they take instead of taking the tongue from the human, they started to take it from the cattle. And they'd take it, surgically remove it, so all the enzymes stayed inside, and then they'd feed themselves in an enzyme shower. So they'd wash the skin in with water, and then they'd feed themselves in like a shower with these enzymes, which would absorb through the skin. So yeah, I bet they absolutely stink. That was interesting. It was interesting. I'm glad that I watched it. I'm glad that I didn't just upload it. I'm going to upload it without the watch along, and it'll be in the archive thing, because people like to watch it without the talking and stuff. I get that. So I will upload it separately, and I always title the watch along so they know which one's which and stuff like that. In fact, I need to put a separate playlist for all the watch alongs, so I'll do that now actually as soon as I've done the live. Thank you for coming in to Skywatch and spending the last 32 seconds. Really appreciate it. Fucking top moderator you. Who else? Astral, thank you. Dave, thank you. Yamar, thank you. All the people that have joined and come in, quite a few people that have come in over the last 2 and a bit hours. Please come back and watch it. Go and watch that. And also watch Fall of the Cabal 2 if you didn't watch it the other day. I'm going to do the other one, but the copyrights are insane for the songs. I'm having to erase all the songs. Like, it can be like 10 different songs, nearly 20 different songs on one of them, just to remove them. So they say you can use it, but it's like just a pain in the ass. You don't want that on your channel, so I'll just try and get rid of all the songs, and it's a pain in the ass. You can only do one at a time as well. I've literally only just done the second one. It's been like 3 days since I did it. Maybe these things don't have a circulatory system like us. Nothing. Yeah. No, you're right. They don't have a digestive system, do they? So I think they eat like plants. That's the way it was described. They're like, well, you tell us. That's the thing, by the way. This isn't just going to be a prop. Hopefully, this is going to be my sidekick, and this is going to, when I do my videos, this is going to be my intrusive thoughts. A bit like Hecklefish on Y-Files, but a lot more funnier. This guy's going to rip the shit out of me every now and again in my videos. I just don't know how I'm going to do it yet, but I'm going to do it. So this guy, I don't know what the name is. You'll have to give him a name, and then this guy will be ripping the shit out of me during some of the videos that I'm doing. So keep an eye out for that once I figure out how to do it, as I'm learning along the way in it all. Right, folks, I'm going to lovies and leavies. Remember, keep your eyes to the skies, because the next story could be yours. And I'm going to play the wonderful intro as an outro. Good night. God bless. See you on the next one.
Figure this one out. There's a double. There's a third one. Oh, what do we got? Take a look at this.
Kenneth Arnold, lights flashing, 47 saucers passing, Roswell crash, debris field, Ramey memo half revealed, Project Sign, Project Grudge, Cold War skies, the radar buzz, Blue Book files locked away, Men in Black say no one saw a thing today.
Watch closely as a different U.S. drone drops a Hellfire missile on that fast-moving orb. The missile appearing to bounce off the object.
Foo Fighters